Chapter 62. Unfortunately, there's still one member of the Blood Massacre squad that's not dead yet. I'll have to wait for the next opportunity. Jiang Ci hid in the tall building across the street and did not move. He only let out a sigh of relief after Zhong Su and Tashi left. Then, Jiang Ci's eyes were filled with excitement. A Class A elite fighting against a Class A monster, I must watch. Since the captain and the others were safe, there was nothing to worry about. Jiang Ci used his tactical communications watch to send a message to Wang Dalong and the others, telling them that he was safe. There were many missed calls and unread messages on his tactical communications watch. They were all from Wang Dalong and the others. Jiang Ci did not dare to do anything when Zhong Su and Tashi were there, so he did not reply. Wang Dalong replied quickly, "It's good that you're safe. We're going to gather at our first base, Shanshui district, and then return to Zhini Army's camp to rest. Come over quickly." Jiang Ci thought for a while and replied, "This attack made me realize that I'm not strong enough. I'm going to train at the periphery of ruin number 09 alone. You guys go back to Pak Sun province first." Wang Dalong replied after a while, "Be careful, don't go too deep." He did not stop him because he knew Jiang Ci's strength. Jiang Ci could kill a Class D monster by himself. It would not be a problem for him to train at the periphery of ruin number 09 if he was careful. On the first day that the Mad Dragon squad came to ruin number 09, someone had fought with the two-headed demon wolf. Jiang Ci remembered the approximate location and ran in that direction. As he went deeper, Jiang Ci became more careful and slowed down. 10 minutes later, Jiang Ci looked at the map. He was almost at the center of ruin number 09. There was a shopping mall 100 meters in front of him, but half of it had collapsed. He could only see two blurry words on the sign, "Bai Da." Woo! A few wolf-type monster growls came from the shopping mall. Wolves? Jiang Ci immediately stopped and climbed up a tall building in the neighborhood. He took out his binoculars and looked at the shopping mall 100 meters away. From his perspective, he could see the general situation inside and around the mall. Hundreds of monsters of different sizes were sleeping in the half-collapsed mall. Occasionally, some of them would let out low growls that sounded like ravings. There are so many wolf-type monsters. This should be the lair of the two-headed demonic wolves. However, where are the two A-class fighters? After looking around, Jiang Ci did not see anyone. The mall was very quiet, and there were no signs of a big battle. At the same time, not far from Jiang Ci, on another tall building in the residential area, Zhong Su and Tashi were also observing the situation in the mall. Half a month ago, there was already an A-rank martialist who came to hunt a two-headed demonic wolf. In the end, that martialist escaped with heavy injuries. However, it is said that the two-headed demonic wolf was also heavily injured. This time, we must seize this opportunity and strive to succeed in hunting it. Zhong Su looked in the direction of the shopping mall with a fiery gaze. The two-headed demon wolf in ruin number 09 can be ranked in the top 30 of the known A-class monsters in the world. Once we succeed in killing it, our ranking on the global martial arts expert list will increase by at least 10 ranks. Tashi was also excited. Zhong Su used his tactical communications watch to bring up the map and specially zoomed in on the mall where the two-headed demonic wolf was. Beside the two-headed demonic wolf, there are 3 B-class Silvermoon demonic wolves. Also, according to the information, there is a spirit item in the depths of their lair. When we fight later, we must lure them out and not destroy the spirit item. Boss, just focus on dealing with the two-headed demonic wolf. Leave those 3 Silvermoon demonic wolves to me. Tashi nodded confidently. In the night sky, dark clouds covered the moonlight. The two-headed demonic wolf's lair was completely dark. Jiang Ci waited quietly on the tall building. He was not in a hurry. Holding the binoculars, he carefully observed the situation in the mall in the distance. I can't see the two-headed demonic wolf from this position. It should be hiding in the shadows in the depths of the lair. After a while, the dark clouds dissipated, and the bright moonlight of the two moons shone on the ground. The night in ruin number 09 became very bright. This also allowed Jiang Xi to clearly see the situation in the depths of the lair. In the depths of the lair, the two-headed demonic wolf's huge figure was crawling in the shadows. There were two wolf heads, one facing outwards and one facing inwards. Both of their eyes were closed. It breathed in and out white mist like a long snake, which filled the depths of the lair. A terrifying aura was emitted from its body. Jiang Xi could not help but hold his breath. This is an A-class monster. Too big. Too strong. The two-headed demonic wolf was only crawling there, but it was already more than 5 meters tall. Moreover, this was only a part of its body that was visible. Most of it was still hidden in the depths of the lair. What is that? Suddenly, Jiang Xi's gaze froze. He quickly took the binoculars and turned his gaze back to the previous position. Just now, the head of the two-headed demonic wolf that was facing inwards moved slightly, allowing Jiang Xi to see some of the scenes in the depths of the lair. He saw a small tree that was nearly 1 meter tall. The trunk and leaves were crystal clear. On the crown of the small tree, there was a blue fruit that was the size of a baby's fist. There was an irregular golden pattern on it. That's a spiritual item? Jiang Xi's eyes lit up. Previously, when Wang Dalong bought the body-strengthening medicine for Lu Hao and Tian Chinfeng, Jiang Xi was curious about the body-strengthening medicine and specifically searched for information about it on the Xian Tian forum. He had seen an introduction about spiritual items in a post. After the spirit qi awakening, all living things evolved. The things that evolved from plants contained a large amount of spirit qi energy and were called spiritual items. The body-strengthening medicine could only strengthen the body and not the mind. Therefore, the drawbacks were huge. Consuming spiritual items could strengthen the body and the mind. They were very valuable. However, a martial artist's body and mind could not withstand the impact of a large amount of spirit qi energy. Therefore, the consequence of consuming spiritual items directly was death. Rumor has it that a research institute has developed diluted spiritual item medicine. The price is extremely high. It is worth billions and billions. Moreover, there is a price but no market. It is very difficult for ordinary people to buy it. Jiang Xi remembered this sentence very clearly. Just a diluted spiritual item medicine costs billions and billions. How much is this spiritual item of the two-headed demonic wolf worth? Trillions? Jiang Xi was very tempted. Unfortunately, I can only watch. The lair of the two-headed demonic wolf is one of the most dangerous places in ruin number 09. With my strength, I will be nothing if I enter. Jiang Xi shook his head and gave up on the unrealistic thoughts in his heart. Although money was important, his life was more important. Boom! Suddenly, two blurry figures appeared in the lair of the two-headed demonic wolf. A powerful aura erupted and dispersed the white fog that pervaded the lair. It has begun. Such fast speed. Jiang Xi's breathing stagnated as he watched with rapt attention. In the distance, deep within the lair, Zhong Su shouted loudly and swung the long rod in his hand. A hazy rod shadow suddenly landed on the body of the two-headed demonic wolf. Roar! The two heads of the two-headed demonic wolf hurled towards the sky at the same time and let out a deafening roar. 3 smaller silvermoon demonic wolves suddenly rushed out from the depths of the lair and pounced towards Zhong Su and Tashi. Chapter 63. Quick! Lure them out! Zhong Su shouted. The staff in his hand flew and killed all the monsters that were pouncing at him. After confirming that the two-headed demonic wolf was completely enraged, he turned around and rushed out. As for Tashi, he wielded his blade and slashed at the 3 B-class silvermoon demonic wolves. He also retreated and lured the monsters to another direction. Rumble, with the shopping mall as the center of the nest, the ground kept shaking as if it was about to collapse. The surrounding ruins also began to collapse. It was like the end of the world. Smoke and dust rose up tens of meters high. Within the smoke and dust, the two-headed demonic wolf's huge body was charging straight at Zhong Su, trying to tear him apart. "Behave!" Zhong Su coldly shouted and smashed his staff on one of the two-headed demonic wolf's heads. Who? After that attack, Zhong Su's figure broke through the sound barrier and instantly disappeared. The two-headed demonic wolf chased after him relentlessly. Both of its eyes were filled with intelligence. Zhong Su's two strikes had injured it quite badly and had completely enraged it. Moreover, it was not willing to fight with a human warrior in its own nest. Because the spiritual item in the depths of its nest was the key to its breakthrough. If it was destroyed, it would lose all hope. As the king of beasts that lived in the wild, it knew the value of spiritual items better than humans. So strong. Jiang Xi's throat moved. The man and the beast had only exchanged 2 blows, but they had already destroyed the entire area to the point where it looked like the ruins of the apocalypse. Jiang Xi's speed was close to that of a C-class warrior. Soon, they were more than 10 li away. In the middle of a wide river, there was a small island that was filled with fog. Roar! Boom! Boom! Zhong Su and the two-headed demonic wolf were fighting on the island. The staff and the beast were constantly colliding. Splash! The river surface was turbulent and huge waves were constantly rising. The river water poured out and flooded the ruined buildings on both sides of the river. The monsters in the surroundings had long since dispersed. In a battle between 2 A-class warriors, once one was affected, one would die. The two-headed demonic wolf's huge body was like a demon under the moonlight. It was constantly biting and killing. Its roars resounded continuously. Zhong Su was expressionless. Although he was slightly at a disadvantage, he was very calm. The shadow of the staff was like a long dragon either attacking or blocking. "It's about time." Zhong Su's eyes flashed. Riverward also stayed far away and didn't approach. The two-headed demonic wolf has 2 wolf heads, one for attack and one for defense. It has a greater advantage in battle. Jiang Xi looked through the binoculars and saw everything clearly. Under the two-headed demonic wolf's continuous attacks, Zhong Su continuously dodged and attacked. His movement technique was graceful and fast, perfectly utilizing the surrounding environment. Zhong Su's movement technique is very strong. His high-grade movement technique should have reached the Unity realm. He has perfect control over the surrounding environment. Even if the two-headed demonic wolf's ferocious attacks, he could still deal with it very well. His rod art is obviously a high-grade martial technique and has also reached the Unity realm. Every move is incomparably profound and the rod shadows are like dragons. Is this the strength of an A-class fighter? Jiang Xi yearned for it. But if we continue fighting like this, Zhong Su's situation will definitely become more and more dangerous, because monsters have stronger bodies and higher stamina. Once Zhong Su's stamina drops to a certain level, he'll be in danger. As an A-class fighter, Zhong Su shouldn't be so simple. Jiang Xi shook his head and made a conjecture. Sure enough, in the next moment, the situation on the island changed. Zhong Su's situation instantly became dangerous. Twice in a row, he was almost scratched by the two-headed demonic wolf's huge claws. He's completely at a disadvantage already? Jiang Xi was somewhat puzzled. No! Zhong Su's movement technique rhythm did not change at all. He's doing it on purpose. Who? After Zhong Su barely dodged the two-headed demonic wolf's pounce, he turned around and arrived behind the two-headed demonic wolf. At the same time, he suddenly smashed out with his long rod. Zang! With a clanging sound, a sharp blade suddenly shot out from the tip of the long rod and pierced into the two-headed demonic wolf's body at an extremely tricky angle. The two-headed demonic wolf's 2 wolf heads roared in unison, their voices filled with grief and indignation. He attacked its weak point. The wisdom of battle. As expected, a fighter can't fight a monster with just his body. Zhong Su was at a disadvantage just now on purpose. He wanted the two-headed demonic wolf to think that it had an opportunity and let down its guard. Now that the two-headed demonic wolf's speed and agility have decreased, Zhong Su can spend time slowly grinding it to death. Jiang Xi suddenly understood. After observing for a while, he had benefited greatly and learned a lot of things. Slowly grind it to death, time, opportunity. Jiang Xi's eyes flashed as his breathing suddenly became rapid. Excitement. Due to the existence of an A-class two-headed demonic wolf and 3 B-class monsters, the lair of the two-headed demonic wolf was known as one of the most dangerous places in ruin number 09. Although Jiang Xi was tempted by the spirit item inside, due to the danger, he could only watch helplessly. However, it was different now. The two-headed demonic wolf was entangled by Zhong Su. The 3 B-class monsters were also lured away by Ta Shi. As for the remaining monsters, Jiang Xi had observed them earlier. There were only a dozen or so C-class monsters. The remaining beasts were mainly E and D-class beasts. My speed is close to C-class. Those dozen or so C-class monsters are similar to the steel porcupine from before. They don't seem to be good at speed. If I'm careful, there should be no problem. Jiang Xi's heart was thumping. At this moment, he had no interest in watching the battle. His mind was filled with the spirit item. Immediately, he turned around and ran towards the two-headed demonic wolf's lair. The battle between Zhong Su and the two-headed demonic wolf had caused the nearby monsters to fall into panic. This made things convenient for Jiang Xi. Along the way, no monsters attacked him, and he was unimpeded. Soon, he returned to the vicinity of the two-headed demonic wolf's lair and quickly climbed up a tall building. Looking at the dilapidated shopping mall not far away, Jiang Xi took a deep breath. Calm down. The more I'm at this point, the more I can't be impulsive. After a while, when his emotions had truly calmed down, Jiang Xi picked up the binoculars and observed the situation of the monster lair again. At first glance, he saw a small tree that was close to a meter tall. The fruit at the top was emitting a faint spiritual aura. It was not affected by the battle just now. There are still 13 C-class monsters in the lair. 6 of them are wolves, and the other 7 are dogs and pigs. I'm sure there are no monsters that are good at speed. Moreover, in Jiang Xi's line of sight, these C-class monsters were relatively far away from the small tree. The small tree was in the depths of the lair, and these C-class monsters were wandering around the edges of the lair. But how do I get there? Jiang Xi's brows slightly furrowed. The two-headed demonic wolf's lair was centered around the dilapidated 100 shopping mall, and the monster horde was scattered around, forming a circle around the lair. At this moment, the monsters in the monster horde were still vigilant and panicked, wandering around everywhere. No matter which direction he approached from, he would be easily discovered by these monsters. As long as one monster discovered him, it would alarm the entire monster horde. That is. Jiang Xi observed for a while, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Chapter 64. The moonlight shone down. Jiang Xi noticed that there was an underground tunnel in the depths of the lair. It's the exit of the underground garage. I can go straight to the depths of the lair through the underground garage. But where is the entrance to the underground garage? Jiang Xi quickly searched around. There. He saw a deep hole in the ruins of a collapsed building in the distance. He could see that it was the entrance to the underground garage, but it was mostly covered by the ruins of the building. The remaining hole did not look big, but it was definitely big enough for a person to pass through. Moreover, it was quite a distance away from the monster horde. He could use the night to get close. I'm now less than 100 meters away from the entrance of the underground garage. It's also 100 meters from the entrance to the exit. But I still have to consider the path in the garage. The actual path is definitely more than this. Jiang Xi's mind turned quickly as he thought quickly. After confirming that he did not miss any details, he jumped down from the tall building. At the same time, he used wind shadow steps. His body landed on the ground without causing any movement. Then, like a gust of wind, he suddenly floated to the entrance of the underground garage. In less than 2 seconds, he was in front of the entrance. Roar! Suddenly, a low roar was heard. Jiang Xi's body trembled and he quickly stopped. Cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He turned his head slightly and found that the monster horde did not move. Who? Jiang Xi did not hesitate and directly went into the entrance of the underground garage without making any sound. I still have to be careful of monsters in the underground garage. The underground garage was dark and he could not see anything. Jiang Xi was very careful. He focused his mind and carefully sensed his surroundings. Only then did he let out a sigh of relief. There are no monsters. Thinking about it, the entrance was so small and the exit was deep in the two-headed demonic wolf's lair. Normal monsters would have a hard time entering the underground garage. Jiang Xi turned on his portable flashlight. With the help of the light, he could clearly see the environment of the underground garage. Old-era cars were parked in various parking spaces. They were covered in dust. It should be in this direction. Jiang Xi lightened his footsteps and walked towards the exit. Although they were underground, if they made too much noise, the monsters on the surface might hear them. A minute later, Jiang Xi stopped in front of an exit. He could clearly smell the stench of monsters. Without a doubt, it was the exit leading to the depths of the nest. He could still make out some words on the sign on the wall. Exit E leads to the first floor of the shopping mall. On the right was the elevator, and on the left was the staircase. More than 100 years had passed, and the elevator had long since broken down. Only the staircase remained intact. Jiang Xi turned off the flashlight. He maintained his calm and carefully walked up the stairs. After making a turn on the stairs, there was some light ahead. He could see 3 Class C wolf-type monsters 10 meters away. They were blue fire wolves. Because of the great battle that just happened, the 3 blue fire wolves were all awake. Their slightly intelligent eyes were vigilantly looking outside the shopping mall. Further away, there was a group of beasts that were still in a state of panic. They were roaming around the shopping mall. What made Jiang Xi happy was that there were no monsters constantly paying attention to the situation in the depths of the nest. After all, this was the two-headed demonic wolf's nest. The monsters outside did not dare to invade. The monsters also did not expect that someone would go underground and enter the depths of the nest. Jiang Xi lightened his footsteps and held his breath. There were only 7 more steps left before he could enter the first floor of the shopping mall, the deepest part of the nest. The small tree with the blue fruit was 3 meters in front of him to his left. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, Jiang Xi's gaze was fixed on the few monsters 10 meters away. Whoosh! Jiang Xi was like a gust of wind as he lightly landed on the first floor of the shopping mall. At this moment, the small tree was less than 2 meters away from him. He only needed 1 more step, and in less than a second, he would be able to get it. The final step. The closer he was to the final step, the calmer Jiang Xi became. His heart was as calm as water. With a firm gaze, he took a light step and arrived in front of the small tree. The crystal-clear leaves and the surface of the blue fruit had a golden pattern. At this moment, Jiang Xi could clearly see the shape of the golden pattern. It actually resembled the legendary dragon. Dragon pattern. The small tree and the fruit should both be spiritual items, right? Which one is more important? In the end, Jiang Xi decided to uproot it. At the same time, he told himself that his movements must be light. Otherwise, the act of uprooting the tree would alert the monsters nearby. Whatever he was afraid of would happen. Jiang Xi's hand grabbed the small tree's trunk. Just as he exerted a little force, the ground began to emit cracking sounds. The floor cracked. However, the small tree did not move an inch. Its roots were very deep. Whoa! Suddenly, an angry roar rang out. 10 meters away, a C-rank blue fire wolf was alarmed by the roar. It turned its head and saw Jiang Xi's figure. Roar! Immediately, the 3 blue fire wolves bared their teeth and pounced towards Jiang Xi in a frenzy. Their mission was to guard the two-headed demonic wolf's home and protect the small tree. A human warrior actually dashed in. This was bad. It's too late. Jiang Xi used all his strength to pull, but the small tree still did not move an inch. The fruit. At the critical moment, Jiang Xi directly pulled the fruit and rushed towards the exit of the underground garage without looking back. In an instant, all the monsters swarmed over. Boom, boom, boom. The underground garage's exit collapsed under the impact. As for the small tree that had its fruit plucked, it withered in the blink of an eye. The sparkling and translucent leaves withered. Awoo! The C-rank blue fire wolf in the lead roared towards the sky again, just like the wolf howling in the moon. The earth-shattering roar spread far and wide. Over 10 miles away, on a small island on the river. When the two-headed demonic wolf that was being suppressed by Zhong Su heard the roar, it immediately became anxious that small tree was its lifeblood. Once the fruit matured, it could eat the fruit and break through its current A-rank realm. It would become a true king of the beasts. Roar! Immediately, the two-headed demonic wolf resisted Zhong Su's attack, then turned around and rushed back as if it had gone mad. Its huge body suddenly disappeared from its original position as fast as lightning. Zhong Su was stunned. What happened? Hunting an A-rank monster was not that easy. He was prepared to fight with the two-headed demonic wolf for 3 days and 3 nights. But the two-headed demonic wolf actually escaped. He did not have time to think and quickly chased after it. The duck that was already in his hands could not fly away. The underground garage's exit collapsed, just in time to block the crazy beast horde. This made Jiang Xi sigh in relief, but he knew that it was far from the time to relax. He increased his speed, and in less than 3 seconds, he arrived at the entrance just now. It was a slope. Go up. Jiang Xi still maintained his calmness. His figure flashed, and through the narrow hole, he rushed out of the underground garage. But immediately after, when he saw the moonlight, he was dumbfounded. Roar! Woo! Boom, boom, boom. In his field of vision, hundreds of monsters, led by the 13 C-rank monsters, had already surrounded the hole. When he came out, these monsters immediately roared and swarmed forward. Fight to the death. With a swoosh, he pulled out the slaughtering shadow sword. Jiang Xi knew that he had no other choice. It was impossible to return to the underground garage. That would be a slow death. He could only fight. Maybe there was still a chance. Chapter 65. Although the beast horde was large in scale, as long as it was a beast horde, it would have a weakness. Due to their large numbers, it was difficult for them to achieve perfect coordination. As long as he could find a loophole in the beast horde's defense, he would be able to rush out. There's a C-class Megalodon blood mastiff over there. It's weaker. I'll break through from there. In the blink of an eye, Riverward judged the situation. He leaped toward the Megalodon blood mastiff. His body was extremely graceful, and his footwork was mysterious and unpredictable. At the same time, he stabbed out with the killer shadow sword. Wind Shadow Step. The Wind Shadow Step was close to mastery. It allowed his speed to approach that of a C-class martial artist, surpassing the Megalodon blood mastiff, which was not good at speed. 9-element swordplay. The 9-element swordplay, which was already at mastery, gave him 3 times more power. At this moment, his attack power was also close to that of a C-class martial artist. Facing the ferocious Megalodon blood mastiff, Jiang Xi used all his strength. If he could not rush out, he would die. Poochie! The killer shadow sword stabbed the Megalodon blood mastiff's body, causing damage. Roar! The Megalodon blood mastiff roared in pain and swung its claws. Jiang Xi raised his sword to block. The huge force shook his arm, causing it to go numb. Success! Jiang Xi was overjoyed. He instantly used the force to turn his body and rushed toward the beast horde outside. This attack was intentional. His goal was to break through the Megalodon blood mastiff's blockade. The beast horde outside were all D-class and E-class monsters. With his current strength, he could definitely rush out. Roar! Roar! The beast horde pounced crazily. Their roars and gallops shattered the ruined buildings on both sides of the street. Pucci! Pucci! Jiang Xi raised his speed to the maximum. The killer shadow sword continuously attacked, blocking the crazy monsters. However, the beast horde was huge. He could not block all the attacks. Soon, the monsters clawed at his body, causing it to become bloody. Rush out! Rush out! Jiang Dudu is still waiting for me to go home. I can't die here. Jiang Xi gritted his teeth. His expression became somewhat ferocious. The killer shadow sword's speed became faster. The 9 elements swordplay was a fast sword. The faster the speed was, the stronger the attack power. The misty sword shadows on the blade of the slaughtering shadow sword grew thicker and thicker, and its power also grew stronger. Chi! 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 The blade of the sword continuously slashed across the monster's body. Some died immediately, while others were heavily injured by Jiang Xi, greatly reducing their speed. You have killed a Class D Lightning Cat Demon, EXP plus 50, you killed Rank E Red Flaming Hound, EXP plus 30, you killed a Rank E Blood Tusk Boar, EXP plus 30, at the same time, the EXP balance on the interface was increasing rapidly. 3 minutes later. Jiang Xi had already run for more than 20 kilometers under the siege of the beasts. Suddenly, the number of monsters in front of Jiang Xi decreased. He charged out of the horde of beasts. But before Jiang Xi could breathe a sigh of relief. Roar! Behind him, an earth-shaking roar resounded. It was like the roar of thunder, and the roar contained a towering rage. A huge figure was rapidly approaching. It was the two-headed demonic wolf. It stepped on the ruins, each leap nearly 1,000 meters. The danger was not over yet. Jiang Xi's heart instantly tensed up a little. He did not dare to relax, and his heart became even more anxious. His body was already dripping with blood, and even his Class D combat uniform had become tattered. The large consumption of his stamina made him very tired. Run! Jiang Xi clenched his teeth and ran without slowing down. In front of him was a dilapidated district, and further ahead, he could see a wide river. Xian and river. That was his chance to escape. Roar! The two-headed demonic wolf roared. With just a few leaps, it was only 2 to 3 kilometers away from Jiang Xi. Its powerful aura caused people's hearts to tremble. Jiang Xi crossed the district at an extremely fast speed. 200 meters ahead was the Xian and river. Under the moonlight, the surface of the river rippled. Almost there. Behind him, the two-headed demonic wolf charged straight into the district. The dilapidated residential buildings slightly slowed down the two-headed demonic wolf's speed. Boom, boom, boom. The district had completely turned into ruins. The distance between the two-headed demonic wolf and Jiang Xi was less than a kilometer. With its speed, it could catch up with Jiang Xi in the next second. Jiang Xi's figure flashed, and he arrived at the riverside. He subconsciously turned around to take a look, and saw the two-headed demonic wolf with a terrifying aura. It leaped up, and with a roar, white mist rose. A huge aura instantly rushed towards him. Jump! Jiang Xi jumped, and with a splash, his body sank into the turbulent river. He only created a wave and disappeared without a trace. Awoo! The two-headed demonic wolf landed on the riverside, and its roar resounded throughout the entire ruins. 09. That tiny, flea-like human had escaped. At the same time, in the dilapidated 100 shopping mall, Zhong Su and Tashi looked at the empty monster nest and the withered tree, and their faces did not look good. Who is this? He is really shameless. He actually took advantage of our battle with the two-headed demonic wolf to steal the spirit fruit. Tashi coldly snorted. He is quite shameless. To be able to steal the spirit fruit under the watch of more than a dozen C-rank monsters and a herd of beasts, His strength is at least B rank or even A rank warrior. To do such a sneaky thing. Zhong Su shook his head. Encountering such a shameless expert, they could not do anything. No one could defend against him. But looking at the situation, this spirit fruit should not have matured yet. Its value is less than 10%. So what if he took it? It's just a pity that the two-headed demonic wolf escaped. Zhong Su smiled helplessly. Both of them knew that the two-headed demonic wolf would definitely not return. Other than the fact that they had just hunted, there was another reason. Without the spirit fruit, the nest had lost its value. Exayan and river. The scenery was beautiful, and the mountains and rivers were picturesque. Jiang Ci dived into the water and followed the flow of the water, swimming towards the outside of ruins 09. With his physique, it would not be a problem for him to hold his breath underwater for an entire day. The only problem was that after the spirit chi revival, although the surface of the Exayan and river was still calm, the bottom of the river was very dangerous. The aquatic creatures in the river had also evolved under the spirit chi revival environment. Some of the powerful water-type monsters were even stronger than the monsters on land. Jiang Ci was also clear about this point. The mountains, rivers, lakes, and seas of the wilderness were all dangerous places. Therefore, Jiang Ci swam very carefully in the water. He only swam along the shallower parts of the river and did not dare to swim deeper to avoid the water-type monsters. More than 2 hours later. Swoosh swoosh, a group of 3-meter-long snail green lions roared from the bottom of the water in the distance with a ferocious momentum. Jiang Ci quickly stopped and hid in a cluster of water plants. Swoosh swoosh, after the group of snail green lions swam away, Jiang Ci was about to continue swimming. Suddenly, his expression changed drastically, and he quickly swam towards the shore with all his might. He saw that in the depths of the river, a whirlpool that was like a black hole swept up and directly swallowed the group of snail green lions that were more than 3 meters long. The current formed by the whirlpool rolled up monstrous waves and also slapped Jiang Ci, who had just swam to the shore with all his might, onto the shore. Is it an A-class monster? Jiang Ci's entire body was wet. He looked at the river surface that seemed to have lost half of its water with a shocked expression. The terrifying scene made Jiang Ci suspicious. Was this the power that an A-class monster could cause? Chapter 66. The sea snails were all over 3 meters long, and the largest one was almost 10 meters long. In an instant, they were all swallowed by a black hole-like whirlpool at the bottom of the water. Maybe it's not a monster. Jiang Ci shook his head, unable to understand. Fortunately, the target of the whirlpool was not him. Where is this? Jiang Ci collected his thoughts and looked around. He saw that the two sides of the river were connected by mountains, lush and verdant. Deep within the mountains, the roars of tigers and cries of apes could be heard from time to time. Looking further, he could vaguely see a world filled with white fog. Not good, I actually came to the lower reaches of the Exayan and river. Ahead should be the Thousand-Island Lake of the Jianghai Prefecture. Thinking about the situation at the lower reaches of the Exayan and river, Jiang Ci's expression became serious. After the recovery of spiritual energy, the Thousand-Island Lake had become a dangerous area around the Jianghai Prefecture. In the wilderness of the Xia country, the Thousand-Island Lake was one of the most dangerous areas. In the distance, the world filled with white fog was the Thousand-Island Lake. It was rumored that there were many powerful water-type monsters entrenched there. Normal grade A rankers would not be willing to go there alone. Luckily, that whirlpool brought me ashore. Otherwise, if I followed the current and swam straight to the Thousand-Island Lake. Jiang Ci felt a lingering fear. I can't stay here for long. I have to leave quickly. Although the mountains here were not high, there were still many monsters living there. Jiang Ci opened his tactical communications watch, found the direction of Pak Sun province, and quickly left. Heading north is the safest. It was already close to 4 in the morning, and the moonlight was still bright. Jiang Ci was alone, facing the two moons, following an old county road and heading north. Most of the wounds on his body had already formed scabs, leaving only a few deep wounds on his chest that were still bleeding. Unfortunately, he had used up his medical kit, and could only rely on his body's recovery ability to heal himself. However, he was now grade E, and his recovery ability was still acceptable. At most, in 1 or 2 hours, those wounds would have formed scabs. Grade E martial artists corresponded to the physical training realm of the 6 martial artists. The effect of the physical training realm was that one's recovery ability was greatly increased. It was safer on both sides of the road in the wilderness, but occasionally, some monsters would appear. Most of them were F-class. Jiang Ci did not let these monsters go. After all, they were all worth 10 EXP. The steady increase of his experience points also represented the continuous development of his strength. Level, Flesh Tempering Grade E, 32016500, Cultivation Method, 9 Elements Heart Method Martial Skill 9 Elemental Swordsmanship, 168180000, Wind Shadow Steps, Small Success, 468150000, Power Output, 363 Experience, 7806. As Jiang Ci hurried on his way, he summed up the gains and losses of this trip to the wilderness. When I was trapped in the monster horde just now, I killed a lot of monsters. My experience points increased by more than 2,000. And with so much experience points left, it's enough for me to use for a long time. This trip to ruin number 09 had only lasted for half a month. Although there were some accidents, Riverward was still quite satisfied with the results. In addition to gaining a lot of experience points, the most important thing was that he had eliminated the Bloodthirst Squad. He had taken revenge and solved the hidden threat. The Bloodthirst Squad only has one member left. I have to find a chance to kill him in the future. Although Jiang Ci rarely made enemies, he knew that he had to eliminate the root of the problem. Also, I took the risk of sneaking into the monster's lair to steal the spiritual item. It was too rash. I need to reflect on it. Now that he thought about it, Jiang Ci still had some lingering fear. At that time, it was as if he was possessed. All he could think about was the spiritual item tree with the fruit. When he sneaked into the monster's lair, although he was very cautious, he still risked his life. It was pure luck that he was able to escape in the end. If it wasn't for the Exion and River, I would have been in the belly of the two-headed demon wolf. Think twice before you act. Next time, unless it's absolutely necessary, I can't do this again. I have the experience points panel. As long as I steadily improve, I will become a top martial arts expert sooner or later. It's not worth the risk. Jiang Ci warned himself again. Then, he laughed again and took out the spiritual item fruit that was the size of a baby's fist from the inner pocket of his combat uniform. This time, he had risked his life, but it was not for nothing. The blue fruit exuded a faint spiritual aura. On the crystal surface, there was a dragon-shaped golden pattern. A diluted spiritual item potion is worth 10 billion. I wonder how much is a complete spiritual item fruit worth. Jiang Ci's heart pounded. Oh right, I can check on the Xian Tian forum. Thinking of this, Jiang Ci hurriedly used his tactical communications watch and entered the Genten Budokan intranet. He searched the Xian Tian forum for keywords, dragon pattern, spiritual item. Suddenly, 3 search results appeared in the virtual 3-dimensional projection. Dragon pattern chalcedony, dragon pattern frost iron, dragon pattern spiritual tree, dragon pattern spiritual tree. Jiang Ci clicked on the introduction of the dragon pattern spiritual tree. Dragon pattern spiritual tree, after the spirit chi revival, it evolved from an unknown plant. It can bear dragon pattern spiritual fruit. After the fruit is plucked, it will wither and die. Dragon pattern spiritual fruit, the fruit of the dragon pattern spiritual tree. After ripening, there will be 9 golden dragon patterns on the surface. Priceless. Dragon pattern spiritual liquid, a spiritual item potion made by diluting the dragon pattern spiritual fruit. The highest grade is B grade. After use, martial artists can advance from C grade to B grade. One portion is worth 80 billion. Link to purchase, Xian Tian Mall, Dragon Pattern Spiritual Fruit, priceless. Dragon Pattern Spiritual Liquid, 80 billion. Jiang Xi's breathing became rapid. Then, he smiled bitterly and shook his head. The dragon pattern spiritual fruit in his hand only had one golden pattern on the surface. In other words, this dragon pattern spiritual fruit was not ripe yet. Was it still worth that much? It was said that some unripe fruits could be poisoned after eating them. Jiang Xi felt helpless. I'll find a chance to sell it when I get back. Since the Xian Tian Mall sells dragon pattern spiritual liquid, it must know more about it than me. It's still a spiritual item. No matter how bad it is, it should still be worth 10 billion, right? After that, Jiang Xi headed north at full speed. He had already told Wang Dalong that he wanted to train alone in ruin number 09 for a period of time. In fact, he did have such a plan. He wanted to train alone and harvest a wave of experience points in the wilderness. Now, he could not go to ruin number 09 anymore. His target was ruin number 052, the old Luzhou city. Ruin number 052 was located between Pak Sun province and ruin number 09. The danger level was slightly above average. With his ability, he would not be in too much danger there. Another reason was that before he came to this era, he had lived in Luzhou city for a long time. There were many beautiful memories there. This time, he wanted to return to the old place and see if there were any familiar things left. According to historical records, 100 years ago, the world had undergone a great change. Under the siege of the monsters, the humans of the old era kept losing their cities. Take the Great Xia Kingdom as an example. After 10 years of war, the Great Xia Kingdom finally defended 7 cities with the strength of the entire country. After that, with the 7 cities as the center, 7 prefectures were built. After 100 years, the current situation was formed. Luzhou city became ruin number 052 at that time. Chapter 67. All the way north. At 6:00 in the morning, the sky started to brighten. Jiang Xi was walking on the old era's G3 highway and was already close to ruin 052. Along the way, he had truly witnessed the power of nature. The boundless wilderness was a world of monsters. In the western sky, there were 2 moons that were about to set below the horizon. In the wilderness, the ruins of some old-era villages looked especially desolate under the moonlight. The moon in Luzhou, the people of today did not see the ancient moon, but the ancient moon still shone on the people of today. It's a pity that the moon of this era is no longer suitable. There were 2 moons in the sky. Which one was the ancient moon? Which one was the present moon? Walking quietly in the wilderness, Jiang Xi could see ruin 052. The skies suddenly changed. Lightning flashed and thunder roared. It started to rain heavily. Even his vision was affected. The visibility was very low. In front of him was the toll booth at the G3 highway exit. There was a billboard in front of him. He could vaguely see the words on it, "Luzhou welcomes you. Let's find a place to rest first." Jiang Xi looked for a direction and prepared to find a stronghold outside ruin 052. At the toll booth at the G3 highway exit, the 4 members of the Hurricane Squad and Wan Qing, who was lucky enough to survive the Blood Massacre Squad, were resting here because of the heavy rain. "Young master, the Blood Massacre Squad is almost dead. We don't have anyone to keep watch anymore. So, your next training will be in ruin 052. There are a lot of E-grade monsters here and it's more difficult to kill them. It's just right for you to train your strength." Marble laughed. Feng Xiaocheng was very unwilling. "Uncle Yun, I'm a D-grade martial artist. Like my dad and Uncle Zhong Su, when they were D-grade, they trained in the top 10 wilderness ruins in the Xia Kingdom. It's easy for them to kill D-grade monsters alone. I can't be worse than my dad." He did not want to train in ruin 052 nor did he want to train with E-grade monsters. Haha, young master's strength is very strong. You're already a D-grade martial artist when you're just 20 years old. But martial arts training is about gradual improvement. I believe that with young master's improvement speed, you'll be able to kill D-grade monsters soon. Marble maintained his smile. Feng Xiaoqing could tell that he was being perfunctory and said angrily, step by step. You keep telling me to do it step by step. But look at that Jiang Ci, he's only 18 years old, and he's already following a warrior team to hunt C-class monsters. My father once said that on the path of martial arts, only the brave can become the strong. As the son of an A-class expert, how could I be inferior to that beggar? I don't care, this time I must kill a D-class monster. Master Feng, how can a piece of trash like Jiang Ci be compared to you? If you really want to fight him one-on-one, you can defeat him in one move. Wan Qing flattered. Just defeat? Humph. You think too simply of me. If he hadn't been killed by He Shua, the next time we meet, I would have killed him in one move. In my opinion, your captain is also a piece of trash. He actually lost himself while chasing after someone. Feng Xiaoqing said coldly. The last time he was threatened with death by Jiang Ci was a great humiliation that he had never experienced in his life. Later on, he found out about Jiang Ci's identity through the Blood Massacre Squad. Especially Xinguang, who knew Jiang Ci the best. As Jiang Ci had killed Xinguang's brother, Xinguang had done a lot of research on Jiang Ci and knew that Jiang Ci was a street kid. This was what made Feng Xiaoqing feel the most humiliated. A poor beggar dared to threaten him with death in front of him. He could not wait to kill Jiang Ci with his own hands. At the same time, he wanted to prove that he was not inferior to this beggar. Master Feng is right. Wan Qing nodded in agreement. However, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He had achieved his goal of making Feng Xiaoqing want to kill Jiang Ci. Last night, their captain, He Shua, had gone after Jiang Ci personally. Until now, they had not been able to contact him. This was a very bad sign. His intuition told him that Jiang Ci might not be dead. Wan Qing knew very well that he was the only one left in the Blood Massacre Squad. If Jiang Ci was really not dead, he would not be a match for him. Their Blood Massacre Squad had witnessed Jiang Ci's growth. He was only 18 years old and already had the combat power of a D-class martial artist. His future potential was limitless. If they wanted to resolve this possible crisis, they could only rely on Feng Xiaoqing. At the side, Marble looked at Wan Qing coldly. He knew what Wan Qing was planning. However, he did not say anything. He felt helpless. Marble had watched Feng Xiaoqing grow up. He was very clear about his young master's character and strength. Putting aside his character, Feng Xiaoqing was still far from him in terms of strength. How could a martial artist who had relied entirely on phase and medicines be compared to a martial artist who had grown up in the wilderness? Marble might not like Jiang Ci, but he had to admit that Jiang Ci was a true genius. Unfortunately, he could not say this out loud. Young master. Marble was about to speak. Suddenly, he heard footsteps coming from afar amidst the pitter-patter of the rain. He hurriedly raised his hand to signal everyone to keep quiet. Soon, a familiar figure slowly passed through the toll booth from the other side of the highway. It was Jiang Ci. Jiang Ci subconsciously turned his head to take a look. He almost cursed out loud. What bullshit luck! He had actually met these people here. However, it was obviously not the time to think about this. Without any hesitation, he raised his speed to the maximum and ran toward ruin number 052. Feng Xiaoqing, Marble, and the rest were stunned. They had not expected that Jiang Ci was still alive and that they would meet him here. Especially Feng Xiaoqing, who had been lamenting that it was a pity. If Jiang Ci had not been killed by He Shua, he would have killed Jiang Ci in one move. Seeing Jiang Ci's figure running away, Feng Xiaoqing reacted and shouted, Uncle Yun. Kill him. Marble was hesitant. Zhong Su had already taught him a lesson yesterday. He was not allowed to leave Feng Xiaoqing's side. Uncle Yun, what are you hesitating for? You are a Class C warrior. Killing him is as easy as pie. Feng Xiaoqing said angrily. Yes, Senior Yun. With us here, you don't have to worry about young Master Feng's safety. With your strength, you will be back in a minute after killing Jiang Xi. If you don't kill him now, there will be endless trouble in the future. Wan Qing said quickly. He was the most anxious. His worries had come true. Jiang Xi had really escaped from the team leader's pursuit. Marble looked coldly at Wan Qing and then turned his gaze to Jiang Xi, who was about to disappear in the rain. He had to admit that Wan Qing's words made sense. If he did not kill Jiang Xi now, there would be endless trouble in the future. Buzz! Marble's figure flashed and a sonic boom was heard. His speed was close to the speed of sound and he disappeared in front of Feng Xiaoqing and the rest. With his speed, he would be able to catch up with Jiang Xi in 10 seconds. Jiang Xi was running at the front. When he heard the sonic boom, his expression changed. He turned around and saw that the Class C warrior, Marble, was catching up with him. He has caught up. What should I do? Jiang Xi's mind raced as he tried his best to remain calm. The sonic boom just now meant that his opponent's speed was close to the speed of sound. His speed was far from his opponent's. Chapter 68. In terms of speed, Jiang Xi's biggest advantage was his Wind Shadow Step, which was close to the refinement stage. Wind Shadow Step was a high-level Gen 10 Budokan treasure class movement technique. After it was close to the refinement stage, his speed and agility could barely reach the C class, which was just over half the speed of sound. Marble's speed was close to the speed of sound. His speed was not as good as his opponent. If this continued, Marble would definitely catch up to him. Jiang Xi's actual combat power was close to the C class, and with his speed, he could fight against a C-class monster. But this did not mean that he could fight against a real C-class warrior. A C-class warrior was much stronger than a C-class monster. Especially a veteran C-class warrior like Marble, his combat experience must be very rich. Once they fought, in a situation where his speed and combat power were not as good as his opponent, the only result was death. What should I do? Jiang Xi's brain was working at high speed. In an instant, he thought of many methods, but none of them were feasible. Marble was closing in behind him. So fast. Marble's eyes were cold. He did not expect Jiang Xi's speed to be so fast. He was almost as fast as a C-class warrior. Suddenly, the killing intent in his heart became stronger. This kind of genius must die. In just 3 seconds, the distance between the two was less than a kilometer. The rain poured down, mixed with lightning and thunder. Raindrops the size of beans fell on Jiang Xi's face, and his whole body was wet. When he was moving at high speed, the friction with the air generated heat, causing the rainwater on his body to evaporate. What should I do? What should I do? Am I going to die here? No. I will definitely not die here. Calm down. Calm down. Jiang Xi gritted his teeth, trying not to panic. At this time, if he panicked, he would have no chance at all. The area in front of him was just right for the open terrain, and it was at the edge of the ruins 052. There were very few monsters. It was not feasible to use the terrain or the herd to help him escape. He could not win, and he could not escape. What should he do? Right. Dragon Spirit Fruit. Jiang Xi's mind flashed. This was the only way for them to have a chance. The problem was that if he directly consumed the spiritual item, it was very likely that his body would explode and die because his body couldn't withstand the impact of the large amount of spirit chi energy. This dragon mark spiritual fruit is only 20% ripe. The spiritual chi it contains may only be 10% to 20% of the mature state. As long as I can quickly increase my level and martial skill experience through the experience bar and digest the spiritual energy in time, I might be able to withstand the impact. If I don't use spirit items, I'll definitely die. However, if I use spirit items, I might be able to survive. In an instant, in less than a second, Jiang Xi found a sliver of hope in a desperate situation. Eat. Jiang Xi took out the dragon spirit fruit from the inner pocket of his combat uniform as he ran. The fruit exuded a faint spiritual aura that was extremely alluring. At this time, Marble, who was chasing after him, was about 800 meters away from Jiang Xi. This brat's movement technique is rather profound. It seems to be a high-grade movement technique. His martial talent is outstanding, but I didn't expect that even his comprehension ability is so heaven-defying. He must die. Marble's murderous intent intensified. As everyone knew, movement techniques were difficult to practice. Even the movement technique he was using now was only an intermediate movement technique. That's a spiritual item fruit. Marble's eyes suddenly widened. When he saw the fruit in Jiang Xi's hand, he instantly became excited. He didn't expect Jiang Xi to have such a treasure. Marble, of course, knew that a mature spiritual item fruit was priceless. However, in the next moment, he saw Jiang Xi about to stuff the fruit into his mouth. Stop! Damn it! Marble shouted twice in a row. His last shout was filled with heartache. Jiang Xi swallowed the fruit the size of a baby's fist without even chewing it. The distance between the two was about 500 meters. He would catch up in 5 seconds at most. Ha, old fart. Jiang Xi sneered. However, Jiang Xi couldn't laugh after that. The dragon mark fruit was very magical. It melted in his mouth. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into a huge amount of spiritual energy in his body and spread to every part of his body. Jiang Xi's body was like a balloon. It was obvious that it had swelled up. Poof! Poof! On the surface of his skin, blue veins popped out and burst. In an instant, Jiang Xi was covered in blood. The torrential rain washed away the blood and mixed it with the rain. Damn it! You destroyed a spiritual item. Die! Die! Yunshi could see everything clearly from behind. He was furious and heartbroken. He knew that the spiritual item was gone. He couldn't wait to cut Jiang Xi into pieces. The intense pain caused Jiang Xi's consciousness to become blurry. Not only was his body about to explode, even his mind and consciousness were about to be torn apart. However, Jiang Xi clenched his teeth and roared in his heart, hang in there for me. Level increased by 100 experience points. Wind Shadow Step increased by 100 experience points. It was different from the time when he killed Shen Quan and exceeded his limit. This time, Jiang Xi's body was filled with a huge amount of spiritual energy. He didn't need to consume his own energy. As he used the panel to increase his level and martial skill experience, the spiritual energy was clearly decreasing. It was being consumed. At the same time, his body was rapidly strengthening. His strength and speed had a slight increase. Even his spiritual consciousness had been strengthened, and his thoughts had become clearer. There's hope. Jiang Xi's spirit was shaken. 100 points in one go is a bit too little. Level increased by 200 experience points. Wind Shadow Step increased by 200 experience points. In an instant, Jiang Xi's body and consciousness rapidly strengthened again. The huge amount of spiritual energy was reduced by more than 10%. This series of actions had already taken more than 3 seconds. Behind him, Marble was only 100 meters away from Jiang Xi. He could clearly see the changes in Jiang Xi. He actually didn't die and withstood the impact of the huge amount of spiritual energy. Marble revealed an expression of disbelief. This kid has a big secret on him. If I can get it, I might have a chance to become an A-class. Marble's eyes were burning. He was a C-class martial artist. At his current age, it would be very difficult for him to take another step on the path of martial arts. Die! Marble shouted excitedly. He took another step forward and slashed at Jiang Xi with the long blade in his hand. His speed was close to the speed of sound. In just 0.3 seconds, he crossed the 100-meter distance. The aura of the blade broke through the pouring rain. The blade's cold intent approached Jiang Xi's back. Clang! Jiang Xi turned around and slashed. The blade and sword collided, creating a huge force. Bang! Jiang Xi was like a cannonball. He was sent flying by the force and heavily smashed into a puddle more than 10 meters away. You can actually block my sword. And your speed is a bit faster than before. Marble didn't hide the greed in his eyes as he walked over step by step. After guessing that there was a secret on Jiang Xi's body, he planned to force out the secret before killing Jiang Xi. At this time, Jiang Xi's body and consciousness had just finished digesting the 200 experience points from his level and wind shadow step. His strength increased again. Chapter 69. Still not enough. The spiritual energy that filled every part of his body was still enormous. Jiang Xi's body felt like it was about to be torn apart. Level increased by 500 experience points. Wind shadow step increased by 500 experience points. Wang! Suddenly, Jiang Xi, who was lying in the puddle, began to tremble violently. The flesh on his body was constantly expanding, tearing, contracting, and healing. During this process, the spiritual energy was rapidly consumed. Correspondingly, the strength of his body rapidly increased. In his mind, a large amount of wind shadow step martial technique comprehension emerged from nothingness and attacked his consciousness, as if it was about to be drowned. However, the spiritual energy just happened to offset the impact of the martial technique comprehension. The wind shadow step also directly reached the minute subtlety realm. At this time, Marble took a few steps forward and arrived in front of Jiang Xi. Seeing Jiang Xi's appearance, he sneered, trembling. Are you afraid? You should have a big secret on your body, right? Tell me and I'll let you die a quick death. Jiang Xi clenched his teeth. Under the intense pain, he couldn't hear what the other party was saying. The expanding spiritual energy in his body was unceasingly tearing his body apart. It was as if someone had used a blade to make a brush, brushing his body over and over again. Not talking? Humph. Then I'll chop off your leg first and slowly torture you until you talk. Marble sneered. As he spoke, he raised his blade and fiercely chopped down on Jiang Xi's leg. Whoosh! Jiang Xi's body lightly floated and instantly moved 10 meters away from the puddle. What? Marble's expression changed. He discovered that Jiang Xi's speed was actually close to the speed of sound. No! Marble's expression changed greatly. He suddenly realized that Jiang Xi just got up in a hurry. If Jiang Xi was given enough time to increase his speed, perhaps Jiang Xi could reach the speed of sound. This was the speed of a peak C-class martial artist. Die! Marble's killing intent burst forth. The long blade, with the force of 10,000 caddies, continuously chopped out, dozens of times per second. He didn't dare to delay any longer. It had only been a few seconds, but he had witnessed Jiang Xi's strength increase with his own eyes. Huff! Huff! Jiang Xi lowered his head and made a sound that sounded like a monster's growl. He also wanted to speak, but his throat had already been torn apart by the spiritual energy. The blood vessels on his face were almost all ruptured, making him look ferocious. Facing Marble's all-out attack, Jiang Xi instantly executed wind shadow steps, which had already reached the refinement realm. His body was like a phantom, and his figure was like lightning. The slaughtering shadow sword's power had clearly increased as his speed increased. Clang clang clang, the slaughtering shadow sword blocked all of Marble's attacks. What? He blocked them all. Marble's expression was aghast. He was a veteran C-grade martial artist with rich combat experience. Go to hell, go to hell. Marble had a bad feeling. He roared and slashed out dozens of times. Huff, huff, Jiang Xi flew back and roared, his eyes full of mockery. At this time, the spiritual energy from the dragon mark spirit fruit was still abundant, with about 70% left. Although his body was still being torn apart, he had endured it. Level increased by 1000 experience points. Wind shadow steps increased by 1000 experience points. This time, Jiang Xi's body trembled even more violently. He could not even hold the slaughtering shadow sword firmly in his hand. Boom! There was a sonic boom. Jiang Xi did not face the enemy head-on. Instead, he turned and ran. In an instant, his speed surpassed the speed of sound and broke through the sound barrier. It really is the speed of sound. Marble had a strong fear in his heart. His body is still trembling. His strength will definitely be affected. This is my chance to kill him. Marble hurriedly chased after him. Soon, he realized that Jiang Xi's speed was actually increasing. The ominous feeling in his heart was getting stronger. In front of him, Jiang Xi's body and consciousness were rapidly strengthening. The trembling of his body was also decreasing in a breath. More than half of the spiritual energy from the dragon mark spirit fruit had disappeared, leaving less than 30%. With his current physical strength, he could already withstand the impact of the remaining spiritual energy. My turn. Jiang Xi's eyes were cold. This old bastard had been chasing him for so long, and he had almost killed him with a single slash. Whoosh! Jiang Xi's figure turned gracefully, turning around to face the attack. Huh. Not running anymore. Die! Marble laughed maniacally. However, just as he raised his saber, before he could swing it, riverward suddenly erupted, his figure breaking through the curtain of rain. His sharp sword was as fast as lightning, piercing through Yunshi's chest. Boom! The next moment, there was a sonic boom. Jiang Xi's speed had exceeded the speed of sound in an instant. This is Class B. Marble's eyes were filled with shock and a trace of confusion. With a plop, he fell into the pouring rain. You have killed a Class C martial artist, experience points plus 70, after taking care of his opponent, Jiang Xi did not stop. Instead, he rushed to the highway toll station. Marble knows that I have a secret. When Feng Xiaocheng and the others find out that Marble is dead, they might also guess it. Killing one is still killing. Killing two is still killing. I might as well kill them all. The experience points panel and his rebirth identity were his biggest secrets. No matter what, he could not reveal them. Once someone found out, Jiang Xi knew that his final outcome would be death. My speed is completely faster than the speed of sound. I only need 5 seconds to get back to the toll station. However, there is no need to rush now. Let me use up the remaining spiritual energy in my body first. Immediately, Jiang Xi rushed back while increasing his level and martial arts experience. At the toll station at the highway exit, Feng Xiaocheng, Wan Qing, and the others were still hiding from the rain. It had only been less than a minute since Yunshi had left. Uncle Yun should be back soon. What's regrettable is that he did not kill that beggar with his own hands. Feng Xiaocheng sneered, how could young Master Feng need to kill a trash beggar? Wan Qing smiled and complimented. At least you know how to talk. You have good eyesight. After my training ends, follow me and become my Feng family's bodyguard. How about it? Feng Xiaocheng nodded lightly. Wan Qing was overjoyed. He quickly replied, it would be my honor. I am willing to go through fire and water for young Master Feng. Not bad. Feng Xiaocheng was very satisfied with Wan Qing's attitude. There were only 2 members left in the Hurricane Squad. One was Class D, and the other was Class E. The Class E martial artist was envious. He was only a member of the Hurricane Squad, not a bodyguard of the Feng family. Wan Qing was very excited. Feng Xiaocheng was the son of a Class A martial artist. If he could ride on Feng Xiaocheng's coattails, his future would be limitless. Perhaps, he could also become a Class C martial artist. Wan Qing looked forward to it. Young Master, Uncle Yun is back. The Class D martial artist of the Hurricane Squad pointed into the distance. In the pouring rain, a figure could be seen running towards them. Feng Xiaoqing and the others looked over. They were all smiling and relaxed. Something's not right. Wan Qing's expression changed as he ran. Different from Feng Xiaoqing and the others, he had met Jiang Xi many times. He had also investigated Jiang Xi together with Shen Guang. Therefore, he was very familiar with Jiang Xi. He recognized with a single glance that the figure was riverward. Chapter 70. Wan Qing, you? Wan Qing's sudden escape startled Feng Xiaoqing. Boom! 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 That figure instantly appeared in front of Feng Xiaoqing and the others from 1,000 meters away. His sword broke through the rain. His ferocious face, which was full of ruptured blood vessels, frightened Feng Xiaoqing and the others. Jiang Xi. That sword was pointed at Feng Xiaoqing. Jiang Xi, you dare to kill me? Feng Xiaoqing's expression changed. He reached out to press the emergency button on his tactical communications watch. However, he neglected Jiang Xi's speed. So what if I kill you? Jiang Xi snorted. The killer shadow sword cut off both of Feng Xiaoqing's hands like lightning. With a light flick of the sword, Feng Xiaoqing's head was cut from his chin to his forehead. His head was cut in half. Blood and brain matter splattered and mixed with the rain. You killed a level D fighter. Experience plus 50, run. The remaining 2 fighters had yet to react. Riverward stabbed out 2 more times, piercing through the 2 men's hearts. You killed a level D fighter. Experience plus 50, you killed a level E fighter. Experience plus 30, a level D and a level E fighter. Both were killed instantly. Trying to run. Jiang Xi's cold gaze turned towards Wan Qing, who had escaped 100 meters away. Whoosh! With a light step, he caught up with Wan Qing. Wan Qing was terrified. He shouted, Jiang Xi, don't kill. His voice stopped abruptly. His head flew up. You killed a level E fighter. Experience plus 30, from killing Feng Xiaoqing to Wan Qing's death, it took less than 3 seconds. Gotcha! A dazzling flash of lightning pierced through the dark sky and reflected on the faces of Feng Xiaoqing and the other 3 corpses. Riverward didn't even look at it. His figure didn't stop, and with his fastest speed, he quickly disappeared into the tall grass by the roadside like a bolt of lightning, rushing towards Ruin 052. The speed of sound was 340 meters per second. His current speed was more than 400 meters per second. In just half a minute, he had run 10 kilometers and entered a dilapidated commercial building in Ruin 052. The torrential rain showed no signs of stopping. Instead, it became even more intense. The rain washed away his tracks and gave him a good cover. Soon, puddles began to appear in Ruin number 052. Jiang Xi hid in the shabby residential commercial building, motionless. He was thinking about whether he had missed out on any details in his attack just now. Before making his move, Jiang Xi had already considered the possible consequences. After going back several times in his mind, he finally confirmed that he hadn't missed anything. The only problem now is Feng Xiaoqing's identity. His father is an A-class martial artist. If he dies, that A-class martial artist will definitely be furious. Back in Ruin number 09, Feng Xiaoqing and the others had fallen into a horde of beasts. In just a few seconds, 2 A-class martial artists had rushed over to help him out. One could imagine how powerful Feng Xiaoqing's father was. With Feng Xiaoqing's father's strength and identity, he might be able to find something. Jiang Xi was worried about the safety of Jiang Dudu and himself. So what if he finds out? At most, I'll just stay in Genten Budokan and not go out. When the time comes, I'll let Jiang Dudu drop out of Beishan number 1 and stay at home. I have the experience panel. As long as I have enough time, I'll become an A-class martial artist sooner or later. I won't be afraid of him. Jiang Xi's eyes were abnormally firm. As long as he and Jiang Dudu didn't leave Genten Budokan, they would be very safe. Genten Budokan was the world's #1 martial arts school. The founder, Xian Tian, was also the world's #1 martial artist. No one dared to make a move within Genten Budokan. There had been such an example in the past. That was when Genten Budokan had just been founded not long ago. An A-class martial artist from another faction had killed his way to Genten Budokan's martial arts community and killed a B-class martial artist from Genten Budokan. Although he had gotten his revenge in the end, he had angered Xian Tian. Xian Tian had personally killed that A-class martial artist and destroyed the martial arts faction that he belonged to. His meaning was, if you kill one of my people, I'll kill all of yours. From then on, no martial artist dared to make a move in Genten Budokan. Understanding this, Jiang Ci felt the pressure in his heart lessen by more than half. Of course, this was only the worst-case scenario. It was also possible that Feng Xiaoqing's father had not been found to be the murderer. If that was the case, he just had to be more careful and keep a low profile in the future. Ouch, it hurts. Jiang Ci grimaced. After relaxing, he felt the tearing pain all over his body again. The blood flowing out of the ruptured blood vessels all over his body began to coagulate, causing the martial arts combat uniform to stick tightly to his skin. The skin exposed outside the combat uniform was clearly covered with many fine wounds. Although he had already digested the huge amount of spiritual energy from the dragon-patterned spirit fruit, but the injuries from when his body was about to explode were still there. His flesh, blood vessels, tendons, bones, internal organs, and all over his body had injuries of varying degrees. That was close. If that dragon-patterned spirit fruit had grown one more golden pattern, I might have exploded from the impact of the spiritual energy and died. Luckily, I'm not far from D-class now. My body's recovery ability is much stronger than before. At most, these injuries will be completely healed in a day. Jiang Ci thought to himself as he opened the experience panel. Level, Body Tempering E-Class, 57216500, Cultivation Technique, 9 Elements Mantra Martial Technique, 9 Elements Swordsmanship, Mastery 240180000, Wind Shadow Step, Mastery 148110000, Force Output, 3, 9 Experience Points, 2766. Riverward had used half of the remaining 30% of his spiritual energy to upgrade the 9 Elements Sword Art. He couldn't favor one over the other. Currently, the panel showed that he was about to break through to the next level. He was 780 experience points away from reaching D-Class. D-Class corresponded to the bone tempering stage of the 6 martial artist realms. At that time, his body would become even stronger. However, just based on my current level, my actual combat power has already reached C-Class, and it's the top C-Class. The symbol of a top C-Class martial artist was that their speed exceeded the speed of sound. I just don't know if my speed has reached the level of a B-Class warrior after the Wind Shadow Step. Jiang Ci chuckled and shook his head, laughing at himself for being too greedy. With the help of an unripe dragon-patterned spirit fruit, in just 1 or 2 minutes, his actual combat power had surpassed a martial artist's by a large stage. From close to C-Class to B-Class. At this time, at the place where Feng Xiaoqing and the others died. Their blood, washed by the heavy rain, quickly became lighter and lighter. Half a minute after Feng Xiaoqing's death, not far from his body, the tactical communications watch on the wrist of a severed hand that was lying quietly on the ground suddenly vibrated. A message was automatically sent out. The Xia Kingdom, Jianghai Prefecture. Different from the plains of Pak Sun Province, there were more mountains in Jianghai Prefecture. However, there were no monsters in these mountains. Instead, there were many powerful martial artists living in these mountains. This was because after the Spirit Qi revival, the Spirit Qi in the mountains was much denser than in the cities. Bright Heart Mountain was an ordinary-looking mountain in the midst of a group of mountains. However, in the martial arts world of Jianghai Prefecture, Mingxin Mountain was very famous. Ordinary martial artists did not dare to approach it easily. This was because Mingxin Mountain was the place where the A-class martial artist Feng Xian cultivated. Chapter 71. Feng Xian was very strong. Even the Rank A Martial Artist Association president of the Jianghai Prefecture Martial Artist Association had to be courteous to him. Feng Xian was very mysterious. The martial artists in the Jianghai Prefecture only knew that Feng Xian was a Rank A martial artist, but did not know which faction he belonged to. Only a few high-ranking martial artists knew that Feng Xian's identity was not simple. He was one of the 13 most powerful directors in the Liberal Alliance. The Liberal Alliance was formed by martial artists from all over the world who worshipped freedom. Although the organization was loose, the number of martial artists was definitely the highest in the world. One could only imagine how powerful Feng Xian was. There was a luxurious manor at the peak of Mingxin Mountain in the Jianghai Prefecture. In the swimming pool, a thin middle-aged man floated cross-legged on the water, bobbing up and down with the waves. His eyes suddenly opened, and he took out his tactical communications watch in surprise. A message from Xiaocheng? In the next moment, his eyes were filled with rage and killing intent. Xiaocheng! Feng Xian's roar of grief and indignation echoed in the mountains. Boom! The water in the swimming pool poured out, and then it was instantly evaporated by Feng Xian's powerful aura, turning into mist that filled the surroundings. In the manor, the Feng family's martial artists and personal guards all rushed over. When they saw Feng Xian's angry scene, they were all terrified. Feng Xian stood in front of the evaporated swimming pool, and a three-dimensional hologram popped up on his tactical communications watch. This was the Liberal Alliance's internal satellite network. Use the highest authority to search for Feng Xiaocheng in ruin number 09. His face was as cold as water as he gave the order. Yesterday, when Feng Xiaocheng was surrounded by beasts, he had asked him for help at ruin number 09. The hologram shook, and an intelligent voice sounded, "Search failed. No traces of Feng Xiaocheng found." No? How can there be no trace? Feng Xian was furious. He suddenly shouted, "Old Yuan!" An elderly rank B martial artist walked out from the personal guards. Old Yuan was terrified. He quickly walked forward and said, "This morning, Marble sent a message saying that he wanted to bring young master to other cities to train." Where? Feng Xian's eyes were sharp. It seems to be ruin number 052. Old Yuan lowered his head. Feng Xian immediately ordered the hologram, "Search for Feng Xiaocheng in ruin number 052. Soon, light flickered and the AI's voice sounded, "Search successful. Found traces of Feng Xiaocheng. Give me a detailed image." The light and shadow changed, and a virtual image was displayed. For corpses on the ground was in ruin number 10. Fear and bewilderment could still be seen in Feng Xiaocheng's eyes, which had been split into two halves. Xiaocheng! Such a scene caused Feng Xian's hair to stand on end. He roared towards the sky in grief and indignation. An invisible shockwave spread out from the powerful aura and sent the B-class Old Yuan flying. Old Yuan fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Xiaocheng! Xiaocheng! Search for Xiaocheng! Feng Xian was furious. There was no Xiaocheng among the four corpses. He had warned Xiaocheng not to leave Feng Xiaocheng's side. Feng Xian decided that if Xiaocheng was still alive, he would skin Xiaocheng alive. Search successful. Another image appeared in the hologram. A corpse was soaked in rain. There was a fatal wound on his chest. It was Xiaocheng. Xiaocheng is dead too. Even a rank C martial artist was killed in one move. The killer must be faster than the speed of sound. Who is the killer? I used to kill countless people in the wilderness. Many rank A and rank B martial artists have a grudge against me. These people don't dare to take revenge on me. They might transfer their hatred to Xiaocheng. Who could it be? Killer, find the killer. Feng Xian suppressed his grief and said to the hologram, with Feng Xiaocheng as the center, search for all rank A and rank B martial artists within a 100-kilometer radius. There are no rank A and rank B martial artists in the current area, the hologram said. None. Impossible. Feng Xian could not believe it. Less than a minute had passed since Feng Xiaoqing's death. Rank B martial artists could move at 3 times the speed of sound. Rank A martial artists could move at 5 times the speed of sound. If the killer was a Rank A or Rank B martial artist, it would be impossible for him to run out of the 100-kilometer radius in half a minute. Maybe the martial artist was hiding his strength. The level registered in the Martial Artist Association does not match his actual combat strength. Maybe he learned a high-level martial art technique. Feng Xian quickly deduced. He was like that himself. When he was young, he had used a high-level martial art technique to defeat someone stronger than him. Feng Xian suddenly raised his head and ordered the hologram, search for all Rank C and Rank D martial artists within a 100-kilometer radius. Display all Rank E and Rank F martial artists as well. Sir, you can't do that. The 4 major countries and the various martial artist alliances have an agreement that forbids large-scale surveillance of low-level martial artists in the wilderness. Old Yuan was shocked. He resisted the pressure to stop Feng Xian. My son is dead. I don't care about some bullshit agreement. If anyone tries to stop me, I'll kill them. Hurry up and get a transport plane here. Feng Xian's face was filled with murderous intent. Old Yuan trembled. He did not dare to say anything else and hurriedly left to carry out his task. The search this time took a little longer. 3 minutes later, the hologram's notification finally sounded. Search successful. There are a total of 1,265 martial artists in the current area. There are 8 Rank C martial artists, 178 Rank D martial artists, 1,079 Rank E martial artists, and no Rank F martial artists. In the hologram, densely packed miniature figures appeared. Among the Rank E martial artists, one of them was Jiang Ci. After Jiang Ci returned to Pak Sun Province from Ruin 0724, he had changed his martial artist rank to Rank E at the Martial Artist Association. Of course, among so many martial artists, Jiang Ci was not eye-catching. Feng Xian's attention was not on the Rank E martial artists. He said coldly, "Show me the information of the 8 Rank C martial artists." The hologram shook, and the detailed information of the 8 Rank C martial artists appeared. One of them was the dead marble. The murderer might be among these people. One of them is a top-notch Rank C martial artist. He has the ability to kill marble instantly. He is the most suspicious. The other 6 Rank C martial artists are also very suspicious. Maybe some of them are hiding their strength. Feng Xian quickly analyzed the situation. Soon, Old Yuan returned. Old Yuan, use all the power we have in the Liberal Alliance. Investigate. Turn these 7 Rank C martial artists upside down. Don't let the remaining Rank D and Rank E martial artists go either. Investigate them thoroughly. Feng Xian's entire body emitted a cold aura. The surrounding temperature seemed to have dropped by a few degrees. Old Yuan looked at the hologram and kept quiet out of fear. He did not dare to disobey. He had followed Feng Xian for so long that he knew Feng Xian's temperament very well. He would rather kill 1,000 by mistake than let go of a single person. If it were not for the fact that these martial artists had too many martial artists behind them, Feng Xian might not have even bothered to investigate and would have directly killed them all. After a while, a black transport plane whistled as it landed on the peak of Mingxin Mountain. Feng Xian brought Old Yuan and his personal guards and quickly boarded the transport plane and flew towards Ruin 052. Chapter 72. The heavy rain did not last long. The rainstorm only lasted for about 10 minutes before it stopped. The sun rose, and a rainbow hung in the sky. At the highway toll booth of Ruin number 052, 4 corpses were still lying quietly on the wet ground. 2 blurry figures suddenly appeared. They were Zhong Su and Ta Shi, who had just rushed over from Ruin number 09 after receiving the news. When the 2 of them saw Feng Xiaoqing's body, they looked at each other and their expressions were not good. They did not expect Feng Xiaoqing to die in just half a day. Then, they began to check the battle tracks at the scene. They went 2 kilometers away to check Marble's body. The murderer used a sword, and his speed was very fast, surpassing the speed of sound. That's the speed of a B-class warrior. Tashi stood in front of Marble's body. He deduced this based on the inertia of Marble's body when he was killed. According to Boss Feng's information, there are no A-class or B-class warriors within 100 kilometers. It seems that the murderer is most likely a top-notch C-class warrior, and his speed is just right. Zhong Su nodded. Then, he sighed. It's a pity that the rain just now was too heavy. It washed away a lot of the battle tracks, and we can't see the murderer's direction of escape. Boss Feng is going crazy this time. He only had this one son when he was old, and he had been carefully hiding him in the city, not daring to let him out. Now that he finally dared to let him out, he didn't expect him to die in his first trip into the wilderness. Tashi shook his head. That's what I'm worried about as well. No matter what, we can't let him go crazy. This is a critical moment where the situation is about to change. The Freedom Alliance's plan can't be affected because of him. Later, we must persuade him properly. Zhong Su's expression was serious. Soon, a black transport plane flew over from the horizon. Feng Xian had arrived. The two of them quickly went up to greet him. Feng Xian got off the plane with a sorrowful expression. He walked straight to Feng Xiaoqing's body, and the coldness emitting from his body became more and more intense. Boss Feng! Zhong Su shouted in a deep voice. Feng Xian was silent. He squatted down and carefully put Feng Xiaoqing's head back together. Then, he carefully reconnected Feng Xiaoqing's 2 severed hands. After doing all this, he stood up. At this moment, he was actually expressionless. He was no longer as grief-stricken as before. Zhong Su and Tashi looked at each other. They were both worried. Being expressionless was the most terrifying. Zhong Su, Tashi, my son is dead. He was my only son. I'm already standing at the peak of the martial arts world. I'm afraid that the chances of having children in the future will be very, very small. There was a moment of silence. I know what you're trying to tell me. Don't worry, nothing I do will affect the Liberal Alliance's plan. There was no emotion in Feng Xian's voice. It was as if he was talking about something that had nothing to do with him. Zhong Su and Tashi were relieved. Boss Feng, we just analyzed the situation at the scene, then, the two of them told him about their deductions about the murderer. We can confirm that the murderer's speed exceeded the speed of sound. He is at least a top-grade C martial artist. Zhong Su said in a low voice. Tashi also said, Boss Feng, didn't you say that there was a top-notch C-class warrior in Ruin 052? Is he the murderer? Feng Xian shook his head. It has been confirmed just now. That top-notch C-class warrior has an alibi. He was hunting monsters at that time, and many people saw him. From the looks of it, someone is indeed hiding his strength. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that the murderer is a grade A or grade B martial artist. Before he attacked, he deliberately removed the positioning equipment on his body, causing the Liberal Alliance's satellite to be unable to find his traces. After all, there are many people who hate me. As he spoke, his gaze turned cold. Since that's the case, we can use this matter to divert the other forces' recent investigation of the Liberal Alliance. Zhong Su and Tashi were a little confused. How to divert? Feng Xian said sternly, Yuan Zhou, spread the news. Old Yuan, spread the news. I want a reward for the murderer. No matter who it is, as long as they can provide accurate information about the murderer, I will reward them with a grade B Fey medicine. Or, if someone can bring the murderer's corpse to me, I will reward them with a grade A Fey medicine. I want this bounty to spread throughout the world's martial arts world. Since the murderer deliberately hid his strength, from today onwards, he will not be able to eat or sleep in peace. His mind will be in a tense state. Sooner or later, he will expose his identity under this kind of pressure. The words caused Zhong Su and Tashi to be startled. A grade A Fey medicine was worth at least 300 billion yuan, while a grade B Fey medicine was worth at least 30 billion yuan. Moreover, there was no market for them. Even the Liberal Alliance did not have many in stock. Only a powerhouse with a high status like Feng Xian was qualified to obtain them. A Fey medicine was different from a body-strengthening medicine. As long as one reached the corresponding strength, after consuming it, one's martial arts rank would be directly increased. For example, a grade A Fey medicine could allow a grade B martial artist to directly advance to grade A. Moreover, this kind of advancement would not cause harm to the body and would not sever the martial arts path. Although Zhong Su and Ta Shi were grade A martial artists, the Fey medicine still had a strengthening effect on their bodies. But in the next moment, their eyes lit up. This was because Feng Xian's bounty was too wonderful. The Liberal Alliance had been brewing a plan, which had caused many martial artist factions to secretly target and investigate the Liberal Alliance. If this bounty was released, it was conceivable that it would disrupt many people's attention and confuse them with the bounty. Although the Liberal Alliance would be watched by the entire world, as the saying went, the darkness under the light was dark. Those factions that were secretly targeting and investigating the Liberal Alliance would overlook many things because of this. New Moon Era Year 92, November 1st, 6:30 a.m. News of a bounty quickly spread throughout the world's martial arts world. The bounty came from one of the 13 directors of the Liberal Alliance, a top grade A powerhouse, Feng Xian. Bounty content: find Feng Xiaoqing's murderer. Characteristics of the murderer: 1. At least has the combat power of a top grade C martial artist. 2. Excels in speed and surpasses the speed of sound. 3. Uses a sword. Rewards: 1. Provide accurate information on the murderer. Reward: a grade B Fey medicine. 2. Kill the murderer. Reward: a grade A Fey medicine. Pak Sun Province, Zhenten Budokan. After Jiang Dudu woke up, she yawned and turned on the television in the living room. The volume was very loud and she just played it there. She didn't do it to watch television. She just wanted to make this empty villa sound more lively so that it wouldn't seem too lonely. Stinky Jiang Ci. You haven't answered my calls for 2 days. Come back and wait for me. She grumbled to herself. It was a subconscious action. She had repeated this sentence many times. After washing up, she started eating breakfast. The heated milk was very nutritious when paired with the tendons of the grade F monster, the ironhide bull. After eating and drinking good food every day, Jiang Dudu had already transformed from a bean sprout into a juicy little girl. Next is an urgent news broadcast. Early this morning, the Liberal Alliance announced a grade A Fey medicine worth 300 billion. Jiang Dudu didn't hear the whole thing from the television. She only heard the final number, 300 billion. Pfft. Jiang Dudu spat out a mouthful of hot milk and widened her eyes. 300 billion. 300 billion. 300 billion. After a while, Jiang Dudu recovered from her shock. 300 billion. How long will it take for Jiang Ci to earn so much money? Even if you sell Jiang Ci, it won't be worth this price, right? Stinky Jiang Ci. You haven't answered my calls for 2 days. Come back and wait for me. Chapter 73. Jiang Dudu was not the only one who thought so. At this moment, this bounty had spread all over the world through major news media and online channels. Even ordinary passers-by were talking about this matter. The whole world was in an uproar. At the same time, in the resting area of the Northern Mountain Army camp, Wang Dalong, Lu Hao, and Tian Chenfeng had returned on the Zhenyi Army's transport plane. As the train back to the city had not arrived yet, the three of them were resting in the temporary dormitory. When the news of the bounty issued by the Liberal Alliance spread all over the world, in the resting area, there was an uproar of shock. For a moment, all the martial artists were discussing this matter loudly, and the entire resting area became very lively. Wang Dalong and the other two held their breaths and looked at each other. They were also shocked by this news. Unlike the others, they were also a little confused because the person who was killed was Feng Xiaoqing. Coincidentally, they had been chased by Feng Xiaoqing's bodyguards the day before. Wang Dalong immediately used his tactical communications watch to access the Genten Budokan's intranet and entered the Xian Tian forum. At this time, the major chat groups in the Xian Tian forum were exploding with messages. Everyone was talking about this matter. After some understanding, Wang Dalong's eyes flashed. He took a deep breath and said, according to reliable sources, Wan Qing of the Bloodthirst Squad was killed together with Feng Xiaoqing. Wan Qing. Lu Hao and Tian Chenfeng were shocked. What about the other members of the Bloodthirst Squad? Lu Hao asked. Their bodies were not found at the scene. We don't know if they are dead or alive. The three of them suddenly fell silent. Good at speed and using a sword. Could it be Jiang Xi? Lu Hao was a little hesitant. Tian Chenfeng nodded slightly. Jiang Xi occupied two of the three characteristics of the bounty. Wang Dalong thought for a while and shook his head. Impossible. Although Jiang Xi is good at speed, his speed is only at the top of Class D. Compared to the speed of sound, he is still far from it. Besides, Marble is a Class C martial artist. Jiang Xi is a genius, but it is impossible for him to increase his actual combat strength to the point where he can kill a Class C martial artist in just one night. Lu Hao and Tian Chenfeng looked at each other. Of course, they knew what Wang Dalong said. However, the reward offered by the bounty made them involuntarily think in this direction. An A-grade or B-grade Fey potion. As long as he could get one, he wouldn't have to worry about it for the rest of his life. He might even have the chance to reach the peak of martial arts. Why don't we contact Jiang Xi and ask? Lu Hao and Tian Chenfeng were looking forward to it. No. Wang Dalong flatly refused. His eyes were like torches as he stared at the two and said, at this time, no one is allowed to contact Jiang Xi. Lu Hao and Tian Chenfeng fell silent again. After a while, the two of them suddenly smiled bitterly. I'm sorry, Captain. I was possessed. Lu Hao shook his head as if he had woken up. Me too. Tian Chenfeng also let out a long sigh. Wang Dalong sighed. It's not just you guys. I had the same thought just now. There's no other way. No one can remain calm in the face of such temptation. However, you must remember that Jiang Xi can't be the murderer. You guys can't tell anyone that Jiang Xi is good at speed. Lu Hao and Tian Chenfeng laughed. No one will believe it even if we tell them. How long has Jiang Xi been a martial artist? It's only been 4 months. No matter how good he is at speed, it's impossible for him to reach the speed of sound in such a short time, right? The three of them laughed at the same time. As for what they were thinking, only they knew. Ruin number 052, a dilapidated commercial and residential building. In a suite on the top floor. Jiang Xi sat cross-legged on the floor, meditating. He had also seen the news about the bounty. At first, he was worried, flustered, shocked, and suspicious. But soon, he thought about it and felt relieved again. This was because Feng Xian definitely hadn't confirmed the murderer. Otherwise, he wouldn't have put in so much effort to post a bounty. Jiang Xi's only worry now was whether Wang Dalong and the rest would link it to him. This was because Wan Qing from the Blood Massacre Squad had died together with Feng Xiaoqing. In addition to the three characteristics of the murderer, he had two of them. What if Wang Dalong and the rest were tempted by the huge bounty and told Feng Xian about him? Jiang Xi knew very well that he was the murderer. He couldn't be investigated at all. After thinking about it and being paranoid, Jiang Xi found that his emotions were getting more and more chaotic. He simply stopped thinking about it and entered a state of cultivation. After circulating the 9 Elements Heart Sutra for 3 cycles, his heart finally calmed down completely, and his thoughts became clearer. It was as if his soul had gone through a baptism and was firmer. Jiang Ci opened his eyes and smiled gently. He was very calm. Now, no one knows that my speed has surpassed the speed of sound. In the eyes of the captain and the rest, my speed is at most a top D-class martial artist, barely reaching C-class. It's far from the speed of sound. So, even if the captain and the rest have doubts, there's no evidence to prove that I'm the murderer. In that case, there's even less to worry about. I just have to pay attention to hiding my actual combat strength and speed in the future. I can't even use the wind shadow steps easily anymore. I have to hide it as much as possible. At this moment, his tactical communications watch vibrated gently. He opened it and saw that it was a call from Jiang Daodu again. Since yesterday, Jiang Daodu had called many times. But at that time, he was either running for his life or killing someone. He didn't have time to answer the call. Of course, Jiang Ci didn't answer the call immediately. Because his face was now covered in blood and looked very ferocious. He couldn't let Jiang Daodu see him like this. Otherwise, the little girl's mood would definitely skyrocket. Jiang Ci climbed to the roof and glanced around. He saw that there was a puddle of water on the roof. The storm had stopped not long ago, so the puddle of water on the roof had yet to dry up. Jiang Ci hurriedly used the puddle of water to wash the blood off his face. However, his tattered combat uniform and the bloodstains all over his body couldn't be cleaned. He examined himself carefully and found that the ruptured blood vessels on his face had mostly healed. If he didn't look carefully, he wouldn't be able to see it, only his flesh and bones still hurt faintly. His injuries had yet to heal. After he finished examining himself, Jiang Ci used his tactical communications watch to call back. In less than a second, Jiang Daodu picked up the call. A miniature virtual image of Jiang Daodu popped up on his tactical communications watch. Jiang Ci. Why didn't you pick up my call? Why didn't you return my call? Give me a reason. Jiang Daodu exploded in anger the moment the call connected. I've been fighting monsters. Jiang Ci moved his tactical communications watch a little further away and prepared to receive a roar. But he didn't expect that Jiang Daodu would fall silent. She suddenly calmed down, and her anger instantly disappeared. Because she noticed Jiang Ci's current situation. His combat uniform was covered in blood, and his face was a little pale. Are you injured? Jiang Daodu asked softly. No, this is all monster blood. Jiang Daodu fell silent again. After a while, she said, Oh, then when are you coming back? I'm preparing to train alone in the wilderness for a while. Then you have to be careful. If you die in the wilderness, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. Don't worry, I'm very strong now. Bullshit. The two of them chatted for a long time. In the end, they hung up only when Jiang Daodu was about to leave for school. Chapter 74. After dealing with Jiang Daodu, Jiang Ci felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. The feeling just now was as if he had come face to face with a two-headed devil wolf. However, the pressure in his heart was completely released after chatting with Jiang Daodu. His whole body was relaxed without any pressure. Standing on the roof of the tall building, he looked at Ruin 052. For a moment, Jiang Ci was filled with ambition. From today onwards, he was considered a high-level warrior in the human martial arts world. A top-notch C-class warrior. Among the warriors that Jiang Ci knew, for example, the deputy head of the Pak Sun Province branch of Genten Budokan and the captain of the Pak Sun Province's first law enforcement team, Liu Shan, was a warrior of this level. Liu Shan was also one of the top 10 warriors in the entire Pak Sun Province's martial arts world. In other words, Jiang Ci's actual combat power was also one of the top 10 in Pak Sun Province. Of course, a few months ago, when Liu Shan killed Qiao Wanxiang of the Qiao clan biological group, it was suspected that he had broken through to B-class. If this news was true, Jiang Ci knew that he was definitely not a match for Liu Shan. He had the combat power of a top-notch C-class warrior mainly because of two high-level martial arts techniques, the 9 elemental swordsmanship and the wind shadow steps, which had already reached the microscopic realm. His current strength level was only E-class, which was still a distance away from D-class warriors. High-level martial arts techniques are very rare and difficult to cultivate. Warriors below C-class rarely have the chance to come into contact with high-level martial arts techniques. Even if they have the chance, they won't choose it. In fact, most martial artists use beginner and intermediate martial arts techniques. There are even many F-class martial artists who use martial arts techniques such as basic fist techniques. For example, the captain, Wang Dalong, a veteran D-class warrior, uses intermediate martial arts techniques. He can contend with C-class monsters by relying on the fact that he is close to the Unity realm. I was able to obtain the 9 elemental swordsmanship and wind shadow steps because of the terms of the contract given by Genten Budokan. Coupled with the fact that I have the experience panel, I'm not afraid of the difficulty of training. Thinking of this, Jiang Ci opened the experience panel again and checked it. Level, Flesh Tempering Grade E, 57216500, Cultivation Method, 9 Elements Heart Method. Martial Skill, 9 Elemental Swordsmanship, 240180000, Wind Shadow Steps, Refinement 148110000, Power Output, 3, 9 Experience, 2766. I still need 780 EXP to reach D rank. Right now, my actual combat power is at the peak of C rank. I wonder if my actual combat power will break through to B rank when I reach D rank. Next, during this period of time when I'm training alone, I'll work hard and see if I can achieve my goal. Jiang Ci was looking forward to it. According to the information, the strongest monster in Ruin 052 was a Class B, and there were no Class A monsters. The truly dangerous place was Laoshan Lake, which was about 30 kilometers away from Ruin 052. Laoshan Lake was one of the 5 major freshwater lakes in Xia before the Spirit Qi revival. After the Spirit Qi revival, the aquatic creatures living in it underwent a large-scale evolution. The entire Laoshan Lake became extremely dangerous, and it was rumored that there were Class A monsters living there. Of course, Jiang Ci wouldn't be so stupid as to run there. It was enough for him to train in Ruin 052. With his current strength, he was like a fish in water here. At noon, Jiang Ci checked his injuries again. They were basically healed. Jiang Ci did not waste any time. Standing on the roof of the building, he picked up the binoculars and started searching. 3 kilometers to the northwest, there's a Class D sword-horn mountain goat. There are more than 30 Class E and F sword-horn mountain goats around it. My first target will be them. With that, Riverward leaped up from the rooftop and jumped onto the tall building opposite him. He quickly ran towards the sword-horned goat. While running, he deliberately controlled his speed and only used half of it. It was about 200 meters per second, the speed of a normal Class C warrior. This was enough to deal with the Class D sword-horn mountain goat. More than 10 seconds later, Jiang Ci was like a gust of wind. He appeared beside the sword-horn mountain goat from the roof of a building on the side of the street. Roar! A Class D sword-horn mountain goat that was nearly 3 meters tall. It let out a thunderous roar. It shook its head, and its horns that were as long as swords buzzed. It charged toward Jiang Ci at an extremely fast speed. Behind it were more than 30 Class E and F sword-horn mountain goats. They were much smaller, and the momentum they made when they charged over was also very shocking. The sword-horn mountain goat is a delicious food. To be able to survive in Ruin 052 surrounded by monsters until now, it's definitely not simple. I can't be careless. Jiang Ci was very calm. Facing the menacing D-grade sword-horn goat, he lightly slid his feet and used wind shadow steps. In an instant, his figure became blurry and unfathomable. Whoosh! The slaughtering shadow sword drew a sword flower. The body of the sword flickered under the sunlight, and suddenly the sword pierced out. It was as fast as lightning. Quick sword! His power erupted in an instant. Voila! Following Jiang Xi's footsteps, the blade of his sword landed on the D-grade sword horn goat's abdomen, slicing open a large wound and causing its internal organs to spill out. Bah! The sword-horned goat let out a sorrowful cry. It rushed forward a few dozen meters and prostrated itself on the ground. Jiang Xi was very decisive. With a light step, he lifted his sword and ended its life. You have killed a rank D sword horn goat, EXP plus 50, only then did the herd of goats reach him. A group of E-class and F-class monsters were not worth mentioning. Jiang Xi was like a butterfly flitting through flowers. Amidst the roaring beasts, he agilely moved and attacked with his sword. You have killed a rank E sword horn goat, EXP plus 30, you have killed a rank F sword horn goat, EXP plus 10, in less than a minute, more than 30 goats had all fallen to the ground. More than 400 EXP gained. Immediately, Jiang Xi quickly chopped off the horns of the rank D sword horn goat. Then, he took 2 large goat legs for lunch and left without looking back. In less than 2 minutes, a group of bloodthirsty mastiffs, led by a rank C red flaming hound, rushed over. They had been eyeing the goats for a long time, but they did not have a chance. Now, their chance had come. The group of bloodthirsty mastiffs rushed to the goats' carcasses and ate them. In the distance, on top of a tall building, Jiang Xi watched all this quietly. He had the ability to deal with the rank C red flaming hounds below, but he did not go down to hunt them. It's better to be safe. If someone sees me while I'm hunting, I'll be in trouble. It had only been half a day since the Liberal Alliance issued the bounty, and it was still very popular. Once he exposed his strength as a rank C martial artist, he would definitely be the focus of attention. With a cautious attitude, Jiang Xi only hunted those rank D monsters for the rest of the hunt. His EXP increased steadily. At night, Jiang Xi ate monster meat to replenish his body's energy. Then, he used the interface to increase his level and martial arts EXP. It was worth mentioning that after eating the unripe dragon spirit fruit, as his martial arts level had not yet broken through, although his body and spiritual consciousness had been strengthened to a certain extent, the maximum amount of EXP he could receive each time he used the interface to increase his EXP was still 50 EXP. The reason why I leveled up so quickly before was because I had a large amount of spiritual chi in my body to support me. It could replenish the consumption caused by the rapid leveling up. And the increase of my spiritual chi has not broken through the limit. I can only break through this limit when I reach rank D. Chapter 75. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. The moon rose and the sun set. The sky gradually darkened. Ruin 052, on a half-collapsed viaduct. Riverward was like a bolt of lightning, meeting a D-class lightning cat demon head-on. The slaughtering shadow sword swept across and cut it in half. You killed a class D lightning cat demon. Experience plus 50, his movements were as smooth as flowing water. He was extremely skilled. After harvesting the monster materials, Jiang Xi jumped down from the viaduct and ended the day's hunt. Ruin 052, a commercial center. The words heart could be vaguely seen on the dilapidated building. This was where Jiang Xi rested for the past few days. He was very familiar with this place as he had been here many times in his previous life. In a hidden kitchen of a restaurant, Jiang Xi grilled blood tusk wild boar meat and began his training for the day. Jiang Xi wiped his saliva as he smelled the appetizing aroma of the grilled meat. I can break through to Class D today. Experience increased by 50 points. Jiang Xi said in his heart. Very quickly, a familiar feeling of hunger appeared in his stomach. Riverward grabbed a huge pig leg and started to chew on it. The pork leg came from a Class D blood tusk wild boar. The meat was firm and chewy. Even without any seasoning, it was enough to make one salivate. After eating the entire pork leg, Jiang Xi patted his stomach in satisfaction. At the same time, his body finally achieved a critical breakthrough. His flesh and blood trembled slightly. During the day, when he was hunting monsters, the small wound on his body disappeared in the blink of an eye. Flesh Tempering Realm of Martial Artist 6 Realms, Mastery. From Class E to Class D, Mastery of Flesh Tempering Realm, to Bone Tempering Realm, bones will become harder and harder. Bones will be like iron, and in the end, I will not be afraid of small firearms. Jiang Xi's eyes shone as he clenched his fist. Buzz! His muscles trembled as a powerful force shook the air. Whoosh whoosh, Jiang Xi stood up again and moved a few steps in this small space. His entire body was like a phantom, and his speed and agility had obviously increased. Jiang Xi shook his head. I'm much stronger than before, close to 2 times the speed of sound. However, I still feel that my actual combat strength is still a little short of Class B. Half a month ago, he had briefly seen the battle between the A-rank martial artist named Ta Shi and the 3 B-rank Silvermoon demonic wolves. The strength of a Class B was even stronger than the strength and speed he was displaying now. He opened the experience panel. Level, Bonehoned Level D, 111000, Cultivation Method, 9 Elements Heart Method Martial Skill, 9 Elemental Swordsmanship, 318180000, Wind Shadow Steps, 226110000, Power Output, 4, 19 Experience, 24060, I can't be too greedy. It's only been half a month, and my strength has increased again. I should be invincible in the C class. I have 24,060 experience points remaining. It's enough for me to use for a long time. It's time to go home. Yes, let's go home. Counting the days, it had already been a month since he came out. Now, Jiang Daodu would call him every day. She was getting more and more resentful. If he did not go home, she would probably go to heaven. New Moon Year 92, November 16th, dusk. At the entrance of Tongtian District, Zhenten Budokan, Pak Sun Province. A group of people was waiting there. Jiang Daodu stood at the front, tiptoeing and stretching her head to look at the intersection. She looked anxious. Behind her were Jiang Sheng and Wang Dalong from the Mad Dragon Squad. Zhou Yang was also there. Why aren't they here yet? Jiang Daodu said to herself. Why aren't they here yet? Why aren't they here yet? No one disturbed the magic cycle. Jiang Sheng and Zhou Yang looked at each other and smiled. Obviously, they had seen Jiang Daodu's style. Wang Dalong, Lu Hao, and Tian Chenfeng remained silent. No one knew what they were thinking. After a while, a black MPV turned from the intersection. After the car stopped, Jiang Xi walked out of the car with a huge bag on his back. His combat uniform was in tatters and no longer resembled its original appearance. However, from afar, he looked much more energetic. His temperament was more solid. Uncle Jiang, Captain, Brother Yang, Brother Hao, Brother Feng. Jiang Xi went up and greeted everyone with a smile. Good, good. It's good that you're back. Jiang Sheng smiled with relief. He was more and more satisfied with Jiang Xi now. After all, he was Jiang Xi's martial arts guide and teacher. The more outstanding Jiang Xi was, the more proud he was. The Mad Dragon Squad also smiled and chatted with Jiang Xi. They were very enthusiastic. However, Wang Dalong, Lu Hao, and Tian Chenfeng also secretly observed Jiang Xi's performance. They found that Jiang Xi was normal. The 3 of them looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. The last trace of doubt in their hearts dissipated. In their opinion, Jiang Xi was just a young man who had just reached adulthood. If Jiang Xi was really Feng Shaoqing's murderer, no matter how strong he was, it was impossible for him to remain indifferent under the pressure of a huge bounty. Jiang Xi's current behavior was so natural. It could only mean that the murderer was not Jiang Xi. After greeting Jiang Sheng and the others, Jiang Xi smiled and walked to Jiang Daodu. The little girl was pouting and her head was turned to the side. Hey, I'm back. Humph, you still know to come back? Let's go home. After saying that, Jiang Daodu dragged Jiang Xi and turned to walk home. See you tomorrow. Jiang Xi waved goodbye to Jiang Sheng and the others. Tongtian District, Villa 92. After returning home, he saw a familiar scene. A table full of delicious dishes and a warm and comfortable environment. Jiang Xi's tense muscles instantly relaxed. The feeling of home. Take a bath first, then eat. Jiang Daodu ordered, almost putting her hands on her waist. Without her saying, Jiang Xi went to take a bath first. Because he had not taken a bath for a whole half a month. If he did not count the time when he was running for his life at the bottom of Xian and River, it would be a whole month. After washing up, he felt refreshed. Then, the two of them tacitly sat together and ate like they used to in the slums and apricot garden in the huge living room. The two of them ate and played as if nothing could affect them. Jiang Daodu, I have an important question. Jiang Daodu was a little nervous. Did you relax when I was not at home? How's your studies? How much did your martial arts training improve? What kind of important question is this? Strictly speaking, I'm your guardian. Of course, I have to care about these important questions. Huh. How much? First in the learning cohort, first in the martial arts cohort. Are you satisfied now? Brother? Dad? What guardian? Which one do you think is appropriate? Jiang Daodu sneered. Riverward almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. This little girl had really ascended to heaven. I have another question. That vixen with the surname Han came to our house several times to look for you. What's your relationship with her? Why is she so shameless? Jiang Daodu suddenly asked. I'm innocent. I don't know her at all. I don't believe you. Chapter 76. For the entire day, the siblings were stuck on the issue of Han Ningxue. In the end, Jiang Xi promised to watch a horror movie with Jiang Dudu for a night. Therefore, when he went out the next day, Jiang Xi went out with 2 dark circles under his eyes. After seeing Wang Dalong and the others, everyone was very surprised. Jiang Xi, what did you do? Such big dark circles. Lu Hao was the first to ask. The 3 of them were in high spirits. Young man, you still have to pay attention to restraint. Although you're a martial artist and have a good body, no matter how strong your body is, there's still a limit, Wang Dalong said earnestly. Jiang Xi smiled bitterly and shook his head. With his current physical fitness, it was also a kind of ability to have dark circles under his eyes. It couldn't be helped. Just like what Jiang Dudu said, Jiang Xi was the most afraid of ghosts. However, he couldn't say this out loud. It was embarrassing. They arrived at one of the VIP rooms in the office center of Genten Budokan Building 1. The Mad Dragon squad met the old man, Li Qing, who collected monster materials last time. Old Li, you're young again. Wang Dalong was in a good mood. Because they had a great harvest this time. Not only did they earn a lot of money, but even their sworn enemy, the Bloodthirst Squad, was gone. They came back in advance. After knowing that Wan Qing and Feng Shaoqing were killed together, they secretly checked the whereabouts of the other members of the Bloodthirst Squad. In the end, the information they received was that the Bloodthirst Squad was most likely wiped out. I'm old. No matter how young I am, I can't compare to you real young people. Li Qing laughed. Being teased by Wang Dalong like this, he was not angry. He knew that the Mad Dragon squad must have a great harvest this time. Therefore, he smiled and said, if there's any good stuff, don't hide it. Take it out and let us have a look. Wang Dalong, Jiang Xi, and the others looked at each other and smiled. They took the backpacks full of monster materials to the table for appraisal. This time, there were not many things, but they were all good stuff. Most of them were D-grade monster materials, and a small portion were E-grade monster materials. The few of them had already calculated the price. These monster materials were worth about 650 million. Li Qing didn't push down the price like last time because the Berserk Dragon squad was no longer the same as before. They were selling good stuff. In the end, the purchase price given was about the same as what everyone had in mind. 640 million. Old Lee, at least you know what's good for you. So you're very lucky to be able to see this big guy. It's even bigger than last time. Wang Dalong laughed. Li Qing's eyes lit up. Wang Dalong opened his backpack as if he was presenting a treasure. He took out a complete piece of goldback blue wolf skin and laid it on the appraisal table in front of him. The entire back of the skin was golden in color, while the rest of the skin was pale green. Even though it was just a piece of skin, it still exuded an intimidating aura. After the test results came out. Hiss. C-Class Goldback Blue Wolf. Li Qing sucked in a breath of cold air, completely stunned. It was even more valuable than the shadow-flying leopard skin from last time. Old Li, I'll set the price this time. Let's not talk about anything else. 800 million. If you can do it, then do it. If you can't, then we'll do the same as last time. Wang Dalong smiled faintly and said in a firm tone. Hearing this, Riverward gave up on the idea of standing out to bargain. C-Class Goldback Blue Wolf skin was about the same price. Li Qing was very helpless. He was firmly controlled by Wang Dalong. In the end, the Mad Dragon squad earned a total of 1.44 billion new moon coins. Jiang Xi and Wang Dalong each got 30%, so each of them got 432 million. Lu Hao and Tian Shenfeng each got 20%, so each of them got 288 million. After calculating, other than Jiang Xi, the three of them had only stayed in the wilderness for half a month. To earn so much in half a month, it could be said to be a huge harvest. Especially Lu Hao and Tian Shenfeng. Their harvest this time was equivalent to the sum of their previous 10 years' income. It might even be more. The four of them were grinning from ear to ear. When Li Qing finished paying the bill and was about to leave, Jiang Xi stopped him. Uncle Li, don't be in a hurry. There's still something else. Oh? Li Qing turned around, his face full of surprise. Under normal circumstances, the team leader was in charge of trading monster materials in a warrior squad. It was rare to see the team members speak. Jiang Xi took out his backpack and said, "These are the monster materials I hunted when I was training alone." Whoosh! The specially processed monster materials were all poured out and soon filled the entire appraisal table. Silence. Not only Li Qing, but even Wang Dalong and the others were stunned. Wang Dalong and the others knew that Jiang Xi must have collected monster materials when he was training alone. They did not expect that there would be so many, and they were all D-class monsters. There was not a single E-class or F-class monster. Li Qing's eyes widened as he appraised the monster materials. D-class Red Flaming Dog, D-class Ironhide Bull, D-class Blue Fire Wolf. A few minutes later, the appraisal was completed. A total of 214 D-class monster materials, worth a total of 760 million new moon coins. After Li Qing finished speaking, he took a few deep breaths to calm down. Even though he dealt with monster materials every day, he had never seen someone like Jiang Xi. All the monster materials came from D-class monsters. Moreover, these D-class monsters were extremely difficult to hunt. Ordinary D-class warriors might not even be able to deal with them one-on-one. Usually, only small teams of D-class warriors would hunt these monsters. Little Jiang, did you hunt all these alone? Li Qing's tone was not very sure, so he confirmed it again. Wang Dalong and the others also looked at Jiang Xi. They had also recovered from their shock. Jiang Xi smiled lightly with an indifferent expression. Yes, I killed all of them. It took me a lot of effort. Wang Dalong, Li Qing, and the others felt that this was the most pretentious thing they had ever heard. However, Jiang Xi did not feel that way. These words were already very modest. That was because he had spent a long time picking them out. They were all valuable monster materials. In the past half a month, he had hunted too many monster materials and could not bring them all with him. More than half of them were left in the wilderness. This is the strength of a top D-class warrior. Li Qing suppressed his shock and looked at Jiang Xi. However, Wang Dalong asked in a low voice, Jiang Xi, have you decided? Last time at Ruin 0724, Jiang Xi had warned him not to reveal his actual combat strength to the outside world. Jiang Xi's expression was calm. It's not a good idea to keep hiding it. In the past, he wanted to live a few more days in peace and develop in a low-profile manner. However, the situation was different now. Previously, during the Martial Science College entrance examination, he was the first person in history to score full marks, shocking everyone. This information was definitely something that Feng Xian would be able to find out. If he deliberately hid his strength, he might be suspected. It was better to reveal part of his strength openly. As the first person in history to score full marks in martial arts, it was normal for his actual combat strength to reach D-class in just half a year. Moreover, the actual combat strength of a D-class warrior was still a far cry from the top C-class warrior that Feng Xian had offered a bounty on. This way, he could reduce the possibility of being suspected. Advance as a form of retreat. Jianghai Prefecture, Mingxin Mountain. There was an additional tomb in the forest behind the mountain. Feng Xian stood with his hands behind his back, quietly looking at the tombstone in front of him. He stood there for an entire day. Night fell. A B-class warrior dressed in black, the leader of the escort team, Old Yuan, passed through the forest at lightning speed and arrived in front of Feng Xian. Sir. Old Yuan bowed. How is it? Feng Xian was expressionless. It can be confirmed that the 7 C-class warriors are not suspicious. Feng Xian fell silent. The most suspicious few had been eliminated, and it would be difficult to find the rest. This was because when Feng Xiaoqing died, there were only D-class and E-class warriors within a 100-kilometer radius. Moreover, there were many of them, more than 1,000 of them. Investigate the rest. If there are any talented warriors among them, focus on them. Feng Xian stared at Feng Xiaoqing's tomb, his gaze cold. Chapter 77. At noon, in order to celebrate the success of this trip to the wilderness, the Mad Dragon squad organized a meal. Cheers! In an elegant private room of a restaurant, the 4 of them raised their glasses at the same time. After the messy cups and plates, everyone quieted down and discussed the next step of the plan. Jiang Xi, there's still more than a month until the new year. I want to wait until the new year is over before going to the wilderness. That way, everyone can have a peaceful new year. Wang Dalong asked Jiang Xi for his opinion. After all, the Mad Dragon squad was different from before. Jiang Xi was the strongest person in the squad. I have no objections. After a busy year, it's a good time to relax. Jiang Xi smiled. His philosophy was to have a balance between tension and relaxation. If his mind was always tense, it would affect the efficiency of his training. More importantly, there was still 1.5 months until the new year. After the new year, he could not leave Jiangdudu alone. Jiang Xi had long realized that due to the uniqueness of the 2 moons, the new moon era's calendar was the same as the old Xia kingdom's lunar calendar. For example, the new moon era's January 1st was equivalent to the old spring festival. In the afternoon, he returned to his home in Tongtian district. Jiangdudu had not finished school yet. Only Jiang Xi was at home. However, Jiang Xi was not idle. He opened Zhenten Budokan's internal website and entered the Xian shopping center to update his battle preparations. The last time he bought equipment, other than the C-grade killer shadow sword, was still intact. The other combat uniforms and backpacks had long become tattered. He probably could not exchange them for new ones. Although the killer shadow sword looks intact, there are many small wounds on the blade. It's also badly damaged. I'm afraid it won't last long. There aren't many martial artists like me who spend as much equipment as I do. Jiang Xi laughed at himself. Many martial artists only updated their combat equipment after a few years. Including this time, he had updated 3 times in half a year. In the end, Jiang Ci changed into a new C-grade combat uniform. He did not choose the B-grade one. Firstly, it was too expensive. Secondly, he was afraid of being discovered and arousing suspicion. After all, he had just revealed that his actual combat strength was D-grade. It would be too exaggerated to use B-grade combat equipment. His account balance was more than 1.2 billion. After purchasing the equipment, he still had 800 million left. I wonder how much are the Fey potions in the Xian Tian shopping center. Jiang Ci's heart stirred. He had tasted the sweetness of the Dragon Mark spiritual fruit's rapid improvement, but it was too dangerous. Fey potions were made using a special method to dilute Feys, so the amount of spirit chi contained was much lesser. If he used Fey potions to provide the spirit chi consumed by the panel, he would be able to rapidly increase his strength like before. Although it wasn't that big, it was definitely faster than him improving bit by bit every day. The sooner I reach grade A, the sooner I'll be able to resolve the crisis brought about by the bounty. As Jiang Ci pondered, he searched for Fey potions in the Xian Tian's shopping center. 3D virtual light flickered, and a string of product information appeared. E-grade Fey potion, price 28 million new moon dollars, 1,024 sets in stock. D-grade Fey medicine, 280 million new moon dollars, 183 sets in stock. C-grade Fey medicine, price 2.8 billion new moon dollars, 37 sets in stock. B-grade Fey medicine, price 28.8 billion new moon dollars, 5 sets in stock. A-grade Fey medicine, price 288.8 billion new moon dollars, 1 set in stock. Jiang Ci went silent. Who set the price? It's so casual. He was speechless. However, the price was definitely high. For example, D-grade Fey potions were suitable for E-grade martial artists, and they could advance to D-grade after consumption. However, with the earning speed of E-grade martial artists, even if they didn't eat, drink, or spend money, they would still need 10 years to save enough money. Before Jiang Ci joined the Berserk Dragon team, E-grade martial artists like Liu Hao would only earn 20 million a year. Of course, this price was slightly lower than the market price. B-grade Fey potions cost 30 billion in the market, but it was 28.8 billion here. I have the experience panel, and the safest choice is to use B-grade Fey potions. There won't be any danger, and it can also satisfy the speed of my strength improvement. It's a pity that I lack so much money. I'm so poor. Jiang Ci shook his head helplessly. He still lacked 28 billion. With his current earning speed in the wilderness, he would need at least 1 year to earn that much money. It was too slow. I'm now D-grade, and my body's endurance has increased further. Using the panel, I can gain 100 experience points for each level, and double the amount for martial arts. The 9 elemental sword art and wind shadow steps can add up to a total of 200 experience points. After some calculations, using the experience panel, he would be able to increase his level again and reach C-grade in at most 4 months. At that time, no matter how he did it, his actual combat strength would still reach B-grade. Therefore, Jiang Ci temporarily gave up on using the Fey potions to increase his strength. In the following days, Jiang Ci also had a rare chance to relax. Of course, this kind of relaxation was relative. He didn't need to be as tense as when he was in the wilderness. Now, he would wake up every morning to cultivate the 9 elemental heart sutra. He would practice his swordsmanship in the afternoon and his footwork in the afternoon. At night, he would bring Jiang Daodu along to play around in Pak Sun province. It was a rare happy day, and Jiang Ci also enjoyed this rhythm of life. During this period, the two of them also went to Luming District's Sunshine Palace District to visit Old Yang's family. Old Yang was also very happy to see the siblings. Their family's life had changed because of Jiang Ci. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Jiang Ci knew that this rhythm of life was about to disappear. Because Zhang Wei was on vacation and had to return from Shuntian Prefecture. Sour, I'm really sour. It's as if I ate a ton of lemons. I regret letting you go. I want to cry but have no tears. After receiving Zhang Wei at the Pak Sun Province airport, Zhang Wei was like pouring beans and talking non-stop. Although he was studying at Suncheon Budo Academy, he also paid attention to the news at home and knew that Jiang Xi's strength had increased especially in the past month. The news that Jiang Xi's actual combat strength had reached D grade had already spread in Genten Budokan, Pak Sun Province. You're not bad either. You're almost at E grade, Jiang Xi said with a smile. He could see that Zhang Wei's aura had already reached the limit of F grade. Sigh. Zhang Wei shook his head. Jiang Xi and Jiang Xing laughed. Dinner was eaten at Zhang Wei's house. Zhang Wei's parents were very enthusiastic, and laughter could be heard throughout the meal. Everyone was listening to Zhang Wei talk about his life at Suncheon Budo Academy. I regret it. If I had known earlier, I would have gone to the wilderness with Jiang Xi to train after becoming a martial artist. In the College of Martial Arts, there are only a few captive monsters. There's no challenge at all. Zhang Wei kept complaining. Jiang Xi only smiled lightly. He could see that Zhang Wei was already working very hard. He was also a famous genius in Suncheon Budo Academy. His status was similar to Han Yingshue's in Hokuzen Budo Academy. Oh right, have you heard anything about Qiao Wei? Zhang Wei asked. Qiao Wei. Jiang Xi was stunned for a moment, then shook his head. This person seemed to be the first villain that he remembered. In the past, he was known as Beishan #1 martial arts genius. After Qiao Wei's father, Qiao Wanxiang, was killed by Lu Shan with a single slash, Qiao's biological group collapsed. Qiao Wei left Pak Sun Province. He's also an influential figure in Shushan College of Martial Arts. In October this year, Qiao Wei also participated in the martial arts competition held by the 4 major College of Martial Arts in Desya. His strength is not bad, close to E grade. In the end, he got 4th place. Of course, not as high as me. I got 3rd place. Zhang Wei bragged. Amazing. Jiang Xi gave him a thumbs up. Qiao Wei. He had long forgotten. In the past, he was indeed very angry when they clashed. But now, half a year had passed. There was a huge gap between their statuses. If he went to find trouble with Qiao Wei, it would be degrading. The premise was that the other party did not actively seek death. Chapter 78. In the blink of an eye, it was the end of New Moon Year 92. It was the new year. Jiang Xi and Jiang Dudu finally had a good new year. They used to live in Apricot Garden, which was known as the slum of Luming District. Every new year, the two of them could not bear to eat and wear. Their lives were very tight. Now, it was different. Jiang Xi had become a martial artist. Their lives had undergone earth-shattering changes. Visiting friends and having fun became the main activities of the two of them during this period. Of course, Jiang Xi did not completely relax. He persisted in cultivating every day, and his strength steadily increased. New Moon Year 93, January 2nd, early morning, just after the New Year. Jiang Xi was cultivating on the balcony on the 3rd floor of the villa. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. From afar, he saw a familiar figure appear in Tongtian district. Han Yingxue. She still looked clean and neat in her clothes. The bell bracelet on her right wrist rang clearly. Upon closer inspection, one would notice that she was more gentle and beautiful than before. Jiang Xi frowned slightly. His footsteps were light, and his figure disappeared from the balcony. At this moment, Jiang Dudu was preparing to go out and train in Genten Budokan. Jiang Xi suddenly appeared in front of her. Jiang Dudu's face was full of confusion. She knew that Jiang Xi should be cultivating on the balcony at this time every day. Jiang Xi hesitated for a moment, then smiled and said, "If a guest comes later, just say that I'm not here." Okay. Jiang Dudu tilted her head and looked at the door. She agreed readily. Jiang Si's figure drifted and directly went into the underground cultivation room. Jiang Dudu was deep in thought. Knock, knock, knock. Someone knocked on the door. Jiang Dudu got up and went to open the door. Then, her face instantly turned gloomy. She saw Han Ningxue standing in front of the door. Hello, Daodu. We meet again. Is your brother home? Han Ningxue smiled. My brother said that he's not home. Jiang Dudu maintained her politeness. There was something wrong with those words. Although Jiang Xi had moved to the underground training room, his hearing was very good. When he heard Jiang Dudu's words, he almost spat out his saliva. Jiang Xi, I saw you just now. Come out quickly. Didn't I just ask you to treat me to a meal? I won't eat you. Han Ningxue bypassed Jiang Dudu and shouted at the door. The veins on Jiang Dudu's forehead bulged. If it wasn't for the fact that she couldn't beat this hateful vixen, she would have already punched her. In the underground training room, Jiang Xi sighed softly. He knew that he could not avoid it. Sigh, it's so hard to be a man. Then, Jiang Xi smiled and appeared in front of the two people who were confronting each other. Oh, it's Han Ningxue. Long time no see. Jiang Xi's expression was very exaggerated. Han Ningxue did not care. She was still smiling and said, Jiang Xi, you have to keep your word. I remember that you still owe me a meal. It's time to fulfill your promise, right? Jiang Xi only felt a chill coming from the side. It was obvious that it was from Jiang Dudu. However, after thinking about it, Jiang Xi still smiled and said, okay, let's go now. Han Ningxue smiled like a flower and glanced at Jiang Dudu gently. Then, the two turned and left. Looking at the backs of the two people leaving, Jiang Dudu gritted her teeth and clenched her fists tightly. After a while, she snorted and went to Genten Budokan. On this day, the equipment in the training center on the third floor of Genten Budokan's building was destroyed by her. On the other side, Jiang Xi and Han Ningxue came to a restaurant located in a bustling commercial center in Pak Sun Province. The restaurant's environment was very good. It was fresh and elegant. There were many customers coming and going, but no one spoke loudly so as not to disturb others. Han Ningxue was very satisfied, relaxed, and happy. The two sat down in a private room and ordered a few dishes. Jiang Xi, you are very special. Since I was young, you are the first boy that I am curious about and can't figure out. Han Ningxue was very direct. Maybe it's because you haven't seen much. Jiang Xi buried his head in the food. The price here was very expensive. He was a little distressed now. He went to the wrong place. There was no other reason to treat Han Ningxue to a meal. He just wanted to make things clear. That's true. Since I was young, there were very few boys who dared to approach me. No one was like you, speaking so directly. Han Ningxue chuckled, I'm very poor. Jiang Xi suddenly raised his head. It's okay. I have money. Han Ningxue's smile did not change. I have a younger sister. I don't mind. No, what I mean is, I only have eyes for my sister. I want to take care of her. You like your sister? It has nothing to do with that. We depend on each other. We can't be separated in the future. Hearing this, Han Ningxue was silent for a moment. Then she said, I understand. But I won't give up. Jiang Xi smiled helplessly. This girl was a little stubborn and one-track minded. This restaurant was very famous in Pak Sun Province. Many people of high status often came here to spend money. At this time, two young men walked into the restaurant. One of them had a robust appearance, while the other had a handsome appearance. After seeing them, the lobby manager's eyes lit up. He quickly walked up to them. Young Master Han is here. Sorry for not coming out to greet you. The robust young man was Han Lei. He nodded slightly and said to the lobby manager, arrange a quiet place for us. The lobby manager quickly led the two of them to a private room in the restaurant. Brother Lei, your Pak Sun province is not bad. It's rare to see such an environment in Shuntian. The handsome young man smiled. His name was Qin Feng, from Shuntian Prefecture. He had known Han Lei since they were young. You can't compare it like that. After all, there are many strong people in Shuntian. We have to be careful. Han Lei smiled. Soon, the two of them sat down in a private room. After the dishes were served, Han Lei raised his cup and smiled. This time you came in a hurry. I didn't have time to prepare. Let's welcome you here. Thank you. Qin Feng raised his cup. After drinking a cup, Han Lei shook his head and sighed. I never thought that you would choose to enter the Genten Budokan Heavenly Training Camp. Don't tell me you want to walk the path of martial arts? Qin Feng chuckled and said, I know you look down on the current stage of martial arts, but you have to admit that Shen Tian is a little different. The elders in my family also said that even if the world changes again, Shen Tian will not be eliminated. He might be able to seize the next opportunity. That's why my family arranged for me to enter the Genten Budokan Heavenly Training Camp. I want to experience the life of martial arts and observe Shen Tian from a close distance. Han Lei's eyes moved slightly. The elders in his family had said something similar, but deep down, he looked down on the current stage of martial arts. However, Qin Feng's words made him start to reflect on himself. Seeing that Han Lei was silent, Qin Feng was not in a hurry. He looked around aimlessly. Suddenly, he saw Han Yingxue in a private room outside. Brother Lei, isn't that Yingxue? Han Lei also looked over and frowned. Seeing that Jiang Xi was sitting opposite Han Yingxue, he immediately became angry. He remembered that he had warned Jiang Xi not to get close to his sister. Now, the two of them were eating together, talking and laughing. Chapter 79. Who's the person opposite Yingxue? Qin Feng asked with a smile, but there was a hint of viciousness in his eyes. He's just a poor beggar with some so-called martial arts talent. Maybe he wants to be a toad that wants to eat swan meat. Wait for me, I'll go get rid of him. Han Lei said with disdain. He wanted to matchmake Qin Feng and Han Yingxue. Qin Feng's family, like the Han family, had an extraordinary background. Both families wanted to rise again in this era. This time, he definitely couldn't let Jiang Xi ruin this plan. Let's go together. I also want to see who can chat with Yingxue. Qin Feng's smile was very charming. If he became a celebrity, he would definitely be a heartthrob. A few women who passed by saw his smile and their eyes lit up. Qin Feng was already used to such gazes. He walked with Han Lei towards Jiang Xi and Han Yingxue. When they got closer, they heard Jiang Xi say, "You're not bad. You're pretty and have a good temperament," but Han Lei and Qin Feng's expressions immediately became even more unsightly. Han Yingxue was happy to hear Jiang Xi's words. Suddenly, she saw Han Lei and Qin Feng. Brother! She was slightly stunned. When she saw the two of them, the joy in her heart dissipated. Riverward's words were interrupted. He thought to himself, I haven't finished my words yet. He had his back facing Han Lei and Qin Feng. He turned around in confusion. After seeing who it was, Jiang Xi nodded at Han Lei. Hello. After all, they had met before. It was good to greet him. He didn't want others to say that he was rude. At the same time, Jiang Xi looked curiously at the handsome young man beside him. He was a little surprised. This handsome young man looked younger than Han Lei, but his aura was actually the same as Han Lei's. He was also a D-class martial artist. A youth who was even more talented than Han Lei. At this time, Han Lei's face was so twisted that it looked like water could be wrung out of it. He ignored Jiang Xi and squeezed out a smile. He turned to Han Yingxue and said, Yingxue, this is Qin Feng. We met when we were young. You used to play with him in Shuntian. Do you still remember? I remember. Hello, brother Qin Feng. Han Yingxue nodded. Hello, Yingxue. Long time no see. You've become even more beautiful, Qin Feng said politely. Brother Qin Feng, you flatter me. Han Yingxue smiled and said to Han Lei, Brother, I'm having dinner with my friends. I'll treat you and brother Qin Feng alone when we get back. Unexpectedly, Han Lei made a surprised expression and said, Dinner with your friends? What friends? I didn't see them. Qin Feng also smiled and said, I didn't see them either. The atmosphere suddenly became cold. Han Yingxue was about to say something with a straight face. Jiang Xi stood up and said with a smile, Han Yingxue, it's about time. I have to go. I didn't say half of what I said just now. You're very outstanding, but love is a two-way street. As for Han Lei and Qin Feng's words, he didn't take them to heart. Why would he get angry with these idiots? It's not worth it. Han Yingxue's mood became low. She was rejected again and again. No matter how strong she was, she still suffered a big blow. I'll still say the same thing. I won't give up. Han Yingxue said with a firm expression. Jiang Xi shook his head helplessly. Then we'll meet again if fate wills it. He waved his hand and left. Looking at Jiang Xi's back, Han Lei and Qin Feng's expressions became even worse. Did that mean that Han Yingxue was chasing Jiang Xi? However, both of them were adults. They quickly adjusted their emotions. Han Lei said, Yingxue, you and Qin Feng haven't seen each other for many years. It's better to meet by chance. Let's sit down and have a chat. Qin Feng smiled gracefully. He looked very charming. Sorry, I'm not feeling well. I need to go back and rest. Goodbye. Han Yingxue was expressionless. She didn't look at the two of them again and left directly. Han Lei and Qin Feng were left frozen in place. The reason for her not feeling well couldn't be more obvious. Jiang Xi returned home humming a tune. He looked at the time. There was still an hour before lunch. He put on an apron and started cooking. 1 spicy pork trotter, 1 lamb with scallion, and 1 simple cold braised beef. That should be enough. Jiang Xi muttered to himself as he prepared the ingredients. The names of the dishes sounded ordinary, but the ingredients he used were not. The spicy pork trotter came from the leg of an F-grade blood tusk wild boar. The lamb with scallion was from an E-grade sword horn goat. The cold braised beef was also monster meat from an F-grade rock horn bull. He didn't choose high-grade monster meat because Jiang Daodu wasn't a martial artist yet. At most, she could eat some E-grade monster meat before she reached her body's limit. But even so, the meat of these low-level monsters helped Jiang Daodu develop a good body. It helped her improve her martial arts training and laid a foundation for her. After that, Jiang Xi was drooling as he cooked. Because he wasn't full at the restaurant just now. It looked quite high-end, but the price was exorbitant. The portions of the food were extremely small. Next time, he must not go to a restaurant like this with Jiang Daodu. Otherwise, he would be nagged for a long time. An hour later, Jiang Daodu finished her training at the martial arts center and came back for lunch. Seeing the appetizing dishes, Jiang Daodu felt better. But on the surface, she still snorted, washed her hands, and sat down to eat. He went out with another woman without saying a word. This behavior made her very angry. She decided not to talk to Jiang Xi for the whole day. At the dining table, no one spoke. In addition, the villa's dining room was very big. For a moment, the atmosphere was a little strange. The dishes were very fragrant, but Jiang Xi couldn't taste anything. Daodu, do you want to take some time to play in Shanghai? I heard that the scenery there is very good. Jiang Xi broke the silence. Jiang Daodu lowered her head to eat. Why don't you go to Luo City? Don't you admire Li Bai? Maybe you can meet her there. How about Shu Mountain? It's close to Fengdu. Legend has it that it's related to the ghost city. Haven't you always wanted to catch a ghost as a pet? Maybe there really are ghosts. You can try your luck there. Humph. Jiang Xi had a headache after thinking carefully. He said seriously, Han Xue won't come in the future. Moreover, I really have nothing to do with her. Today's dinner is to make things clear to her. Really? Jiang Daodu suddenly raised her head. Of course it's true. When have I ever lied to you? Hee, I don't believe you. It's absolutely true. Train with me in the afternoon and I'll forgive you. No problem. Jiang Xi breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he could eat properly. In the afternoon, Jiang Daodu didn't go to the martial arts center. The two of them trained in the villa's underground training room. Then, Jiang Xi became a sandbag for the whole afternoon. Because Jiang Daodu didn't allow him to fight back. Of course, with Jiang Daodu's current strength, even if he didn't fight back, he wouldn't be injured. However, what surprised Jiang Xi was that Jiang Daodu's physical fitness had become stronger. Although there was no detailed test, Jiang Xi estimated that Jiang Daodu's martial arts talent should be close to 80 points. At the very most, Jiang Daodu had only trained for 4 months. However, although he was surprised, Jiang Xi was very satisfied with Jiang Daodu's speed of improvement. The faster she improved, the better. This way, he could rest assured and continue on the path of martial arts. Chapter 80. At night, Jiang Daodu did not bother Jiang Xi anymore. Her anger was long gone. Jiang Xi was alone, practicing his sword in the underground training room. The brand new C-grade killer shadow sword kept stabbing in his hand. One strike after another. The blurry sword shadow on the sword became thicker. Buzz buzz buzz, the speed of the sword became faster and faster, and the sound of the blade cutting through the air was heard. As he was practicing in his own house, he did not deliberately hide his swordsmanship level. No one could see it anyway. It had been 1.5 months since he returned from ruin number 052. With the EXP panel, his strength had improved significantly. Level, Bonehoned Union D grade, 4701110000, Cultivation Method, 9 elements Heart Technique Martial Skills 9 elements Swordsmanship, Refinement 788180000, Wind Shadow Step, Refinement 696110000, Force Output, 595 Experience Points, 13767. 9 elements Swordsmanship is about to reach the Unity level. It's close to 6 times the force output. My actual attack power has reached B grade. Also, Wind Shadow Step has improved greatly. My movement speed has reached 2 times the speed of sound, which is the standard of a B-grade martial artist. After 1.5 months of practice, his actual combat power had finally entered the B-grade martial artist ranks. While Jiang Xi was practicing his swordsmanship in the underground training room, someone knocked on Jiang Xi's door again. Jiang Daodu was watching a horror movie upstairs. She was very angry when she was suddenly disturbed. Han Xue had just come in the morning. Was that vixen here again? Didn't Jiang Xi say that the vixen would not come in the future? Jiang Daodu went to open the door with doubts. Uncle Lu. Lu Shan was standing at the door. A while ago, Lu Shan had specially guided her in martial arts training. The two of them had a good relationship. Jiang Daodu hurriedly invited Lu Shan into the house and politely offered to serve tea. Lu Shan waved his hand, indicating that there was no need. He asked, Daodu, is your brother home? He's practicing in the basement. Uncle Lu, are you looking for my brother? There's a small matter. Then I'll call him over. There's no need. I'll go find him myself. Oh, okay. Jiang Dudu thought about the upcoming plot of the horror movie and ran back upstairs. Lu Shan shook his head and chuckled. Under normal circumstances, when others saw him, they would address him as Deputy Head or Senior Lu. Only Jiang Dudu kept addressing him as uncle. This actually made him feel close to her. Moreover, he did think highly of Jiang Dudu. After such a long period of contact, he found that Jiang Dudu's talent was also very high. Among the people he knew, she was second only to Jiang Xi. That was why he had taken the time to guide Jiang Dudu in her martial arts training. Lu Shan walked towards the underground training room. As he approached, his expression changed. He suddenly stopped and listened carefully. Buzz buzz buzz, a faint sword hum could be heard. The soundproofing of the underground training room was very good. If he could hear it from the outside, it meant that the sound inside was even louder. This sound, the frequency at which the sword vibrates the air, is very unusual. Could it be minute subtlety? Lu Shan was shocked. He suddenly remembered that after Riverward signed the genius contract of the dojo and became a martial artist, he had chosen the 9-elemental sword technique. It was known as the most difficult high-level martial arts technique to master. Other than the creator of this technique, Li Baibai, very few people could master it to the highest level. Last year, when Jiang Xi came back from the wilderness, his strength had reached Class D. At that time, I suspected that his swordsmanship was not bad. I didn't expect him to have reached such a high level. It seems that he is still hiding something. Lu Shan was shocked as he knocked on the door of the underground training room. Jiang Xi was also surprised to see Lu Shan. At the same time, he was puzzled. Lu Shan was the deputy head of the Pak Sun Province's Genten Budokan. He was also the leader of the first law enforcement team of the Pak Sun Province's Law Enforcement Bureau. It was so late, but he still came personally. Could it be that something had happened? Senior Lu. Jiang Xi greeted him politely. Although he now had Class B combat strength and was not weaker than Lu Shan, his attitude towards Lu Shan was still the same as before. He was very respectful. Jiang Xi, your Jiuyuan sword technique has reached minute subtlety. Jiang Xi was slightly stunned. He did not expect Lu Shan to ask about this. I reached it a while ago. Jiang Xi nodded casually. He didn't try to hide it. Lu Shan must have heard it when he was practicing his sword earlier. Lu Shan only knew that his Jiuyuan sword technique had reached minute subtlety, but he did not know that he was close to unity. After getting Jiang Xi's personal confirmation, Lu Shan was even more shocked. It took him a while to recover. Jiang Xi, you are really a monster. Lu Shan sighed. Jiang Xi's face was full of black lines. Why did these words coming out of Lu Shan's mouth sound like he was scolding him? Senior Lu, you came looking for me because of this? Jiang Xi asked. Lu Shan shook his head. His expression became serious. Do you know Qin Feng? Qin Feng? Jiang Xi was stunned. He had just seen him during the day. He was very handsome and looked like a hypocrite. He told Lu Shan about this situation. Today, he is investigating you through the Martial Practitioners Inspection Bureau. It seems like he wants to harm you. You have to be careful. Lu Shan said in a low voice. Does he have a strong background? Jiang Xi grasped the main point. To be able to make Lu Shan personally come to warn him, it seemed like the other party had a strong background. Lu Shan nodded. Very strong. Now that your strength has reached Class D, there is no harm in telling you some of the secrets. Jiang Xi was immediately curious. He loved to listen to such secretive things. You should know about the Han family in Pak Sun Province. 100 years ago, when the world changed, the Han family played a big role in Pak Sun Province being able to stand firm despite being surrounded by monsters, Lu Shan continued. I heard about this from Uncle Jiang. Senior Lu, are you saying that the Qin family is a similar family? That's right. The Qin family's position in Shuntian Prefecture is similar to the Han family's position in Pak Sun Province. Or rather, they are slightly stronger. Are the Han family and the Qin family very powerful? Very powerful. They have been passed down for many years before the Spirit Qi revival. It was just that no one knew about them. It was only when the spirit chi revival and the world changed that they took action and turned the tide. Hearing this, Jiang Xi frowned. It would be troublesome to have a grudge with such a big family. You don't have to worry too much. Although Qin Feng is the leader of the new generation of the Qin family, he can't represent the Qin family. As long as the fight between the younger generation doesn't cause a big mess, the higher-ups won't care. Lu Shan saw Jiang Xi frown and said some words of comfort. Jiang Xi nodded slightly. That was right. Qin Feng was just a D-class martial artist. How could he represent a big family like the Qin family? Thank you for your reminder, Senior Lu. I will take note. Jiang Xi expressed his gratitude to Lu Shan. Although he was not afraid of Qin Feng, if it were not for Lu Shan's reminder, it might have become troublesome if they met in the future. Just like when he killed Feng Xiaocheng, he was still very careful. It had been a long time since he practiced the wind shadow steps. He was afraid that others would discover his attainments in speed. After Lu Shan left, Jiang Xi did not continue practicing his swordsmanship. Instead, he sat there and pondered. It seemed that his understanding of this world was still very shallow. It was only a little bit. Hidden families like the Qin family and the Han family were very powerful, but very few people knew about them. Strength. Only by becoming stronger can I be fearless. I don't care if they are monsters or demons. I will destroy them with a sword. Chapter 81. New Moon Year 93, January 5th. The 4 members of the Berserk Dragon Squad gathered again and headed to the wilderness after being sent off by their family members. This time, everyone was more cautious and did not go to Ruin 09, which was one of the top 10 most dangerous cities. Although they had earned a lot of money in Ruin 09, the danger they faced was just as great. To Wang Dalong and the rest, with the current strength of the Berserk Dragon Squad, it would be easier for them to go to a level 1 ruin city. Their target this time was Ruin 073, which was 400 kilometers away from Pak Sun Province. Ruin 073 was close to Luoqing Prefecture and was also a flat area. The danger level was above average. According to the intelligence, the strongest monster there was a Class B monster. The 4 of them were not slow and soon, they arrived at Ruin 073. After resting for a while, they started to hunt monsters. In an abandoned parking lot, there was a herd of horned fire bulls. They were the first target of the Berserk Dragon Squad. The leading horned fire bull was a Class D monster. Its ferocious horn was 2 meters long and its body was more than 5 meters long. It was like a huge tank. Behind it, there were almost 100 Class E and F horned fire bulls. When they galloped, they looked ferocious. In a level 1 ruined city, there will be more low-level monsters around the Class D monsters. It will be harder to kill them. With my current strength, I only need to use half of my swordsmanship and movement skills to deal with the Class D horned fire bulls. With that thought in mind, Jiang Xi shouted, "Captain, you guys hold back the horde. Leave the biggest one to me." He had confirmed that the Berserk Dragon Squad was the main attacker. With the Killer Shadow Sword in hand, he dashed towards the Class D horned fire bulls. The Class C Killer Shadow Sword was extremely sharp. With the boost of strength and speed, the power of the sword easily reached the level of a top Class D monster. Swoosh! The tip of the sword swept across the neck of the Class D horned fire bull, leaving a big wound and blood splattering everywhere. At the same time, Jiang Xi changed his pace and flashed behind the horned fire bull. He attacked again. Swoosh! In less than a second, he had stabbed more than 10 times and caused great damage to the Class D horned fire bull. At the same time, Wang Dalong and the rest had not started fighting with the horde. They were shocked by Riverward and were overwhelmed with shock. Riverward had become stronger again. This D-Class 1 horned fire bull, with its super strong defense and strength, was even harder to kill than some C-Class monsters. However, in front of Jiang Xi, he was powerless to fight back. Rumble. When the horde of beasts arrived, Wang Dalong and the other two had no time to think. They all took action to restrain the horde of single-horned fire bulls. As for Jiang Xi, he was alone. Relying on his nimble movement technique, he circled around the D-class one-horned fire bull and continuously attacked with his sword. A moment later, the gigantic D-grade single-horned fire bull let out a mournful cry and crashed to the ground. You have killed a Class D single-horned fire bull, EXP plus 50. After that, Jiang Xi didn't stop, and his figure flashed as he charged into the herd of one-horned flame bulls. The C-grade Shadow's layer sword emitted a buzzing sound, creating a misty sword shadow. It was as fast as lightning, landing on the bodies of the one-horned fire bulls. You have killed a rank E single-horned fire bull, EXP plus 30, you killed a rank F single-horned fire bull, EXP plus 10, you have killed a rank E single-horned fire bull, EXP plus 30. Although Jiang Xi had only displayed a small part of his movement technique, the power of wind shadow steps still allowed him to perfectly dodge the crazy attacks of the herd of one-horned fire bulls. He didn't receive any damage from the herd. In addition, Wang Dalong, Lu Hao, and Tian Chenfeng were also attacking. Soon, the herd of nearly 100 E-class and F-class one-horned fire bulls was completely wiped out by the Mad Dragon squad. After careful calculation, half of them were killed by Jiang Xi. Wang Dalong and the others didn't immediately go to harvest the monster materials. Instead, they looked at Jiang Xi and sighed. Every time I discover that Jiang Xi has become stronger, I suspect that we are not practicing the same martial arts as Jiang Xi. Lu Hao was very shocked. I remember that half a year ago, when Jiang Xi had just joined our Mad Dragon squad, we were still thinking about how long it would take for him to reach rank E. But we didn't expect that in just half a year, not only did he reach rank E, his actual combat power has even surpassed the captain. Tian Chenfeng shook his head in disbelief. Looks like we are getting old. Wang Dalong sighed. Jiang Xi's expression was calm. He wondered if they would doubt their lives if he unleashed his full combat power. Something worth mentioning was that just yesterday, he had successfully raised the 9 elemental sword technique to the Unity realm. His strength had finally increased by more than 6 times, and his strength had increased by another step. For the sake of friendship, it was better to continue keeping a low profile. After harvesting the monster materials from the herd of one-horned fire bulls, the 4 of them didn't stop and turned to the next target. After half a year of training, they had a tacit understanding with each other. Their efficiency in hunting monsters was very high. Correspondingly, the speed of earning money was also getting faster and faster. Time passed, and very soon, half a month had passed. While the Mad Dragon squad was crazily hunting monsters in Ruin 073. Pak Sun Province, Genten Budokan. A gray transport plane drew a streak of light and stopped at the plaza in front of the 3 huge buildings of the dojo. A man who looked to be in his 30s walked out of the transport plane. There was a faint smile on his dignified square face. If one looked closely, they would notice that his eyes were filled with vicissitudes of life, which didn't match his age. On the plaza, the dojo master of the Genten Budokan, Chen Yuan, and the deputy dojo master Lu Shan of Pak Sun Province, had been waiting for a long time. When they saw the transport plane arrive, the 2 of them looked at each other and went up to welcome it. The person who came was called Lu Kuei. He looked to be in his 30s, but he was actually close to his 60s. He was one of the 12 deacons in charge of the daily affairs of the Genten Budokan headquarters. The 12 deacons of the Genten Budokan were all powerful A-class warriors. In other words, Lu Kuei was worthy of being welcomed by both of them. Old Chen, long time no see. You've been hiding in the Pak Sun province. You're living a comfortable life. You don't have to run around. Lu Kuei laughed heartily. Chen Yuan smiled and said, why don't we switch places? You can be the dojo master of this branch, and I'll be the deacon in the headquarters. Ahaha, let's talk about this later. Let's talk about business. Lu Kuei changed the topic decisively. Chen Yuan didn't mind. He brought Lu Kuei to the dojo master's office in the first building. Lu Shan chuckled as he followed behind. he couldn't interrupt the banter between the two A-class warriors. In terms of strength and status, Lu Kuei, who was the deacon, was definitely stronger and had access to more resources. Of course, from Lu Shan's point of view, his superior, Chen Yuan, wouldn't be much worse. This was because Chen Yuan was younger and had the opportunity to break through to the A-class realm. As for the purpose of Lu Kuei's sudden visit, Lu Shan could guess it. As one of the 12 deacons of the Genten Budokan, Lu Kuei's main task was to run the training camp in the headquarters. Genten Budokan had 4 major training camps: Sky, Earth, Black, and Yellow. Every year, a certain number of geniuses would be recruited from the 7 major prefectures of Xia country for training. The news that Genten Budokan had a good seedling in Pak Sun province had spread. Especially after the news that Jiangxi's actual combat strength had reached D-class, the other forces in Pak Sun province's martial arts world had long been jealous. Lu Kuei was definitely here for Jiangxi. He just didn't know which training camp Jiangxi would be recruited to.